Some of the content of Patriots Unfiltered may not be suitable for all audiences. Listener discretion is advised. Welcome to Patriots Unfiltered.
We have a special guest in the house, Brian Morian.
For those of you that hate me,
Yeah.
and there are many of you,
Yeah.
you can blame Brian.
I question that.
Then he went on to do talk radio in Providence, Rhode Island. Got fired. And
I didn't
then
get fired. I left.
What?
I didn't get fired.
Of course, Brian is very opinionated.
You want to just pick the quarterback?
I know,
the
but
shitty
at
quarterbacks?
the-
Hey, 2 months later, I would have got fired.
So with Eric on vacation,
With no
Eric
socks.
doesn't go on vacation. He goes on holiday.
And they have a hologram at the Pro Football Hall of Fame of Joe Namath.
I want to kiss you.
It's more about.
don't care about holograms.
I couldn't care less about the team struggling.
He said, I don't care about struggling.
I go, even a blind squirrel finds a nut.
This is Patriots Unfiltered.
Fueled by Duncan.
All right, welcome to Patriots Unfiltered. It's Thursday here at Gillette Stadium, getting ready for the 4th of July, but not until we do 2 hours of Patriots talk here in Patriots Unfiltered. Deuce is back from
Back.
L.A.
Woohoo.
Yeah?
Back, baby.
Happy to be back in New England?
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Nice visit. Nice. Traveling wasn't as crazy as I thought it would be.
Nice place to visit, but
Yeah.
wouldn't want to live there.
No, I'm back.
Yeah.
I'm back, baby.
Plus, he already lived there.
Yeah,
I did.
I know. That's
Been
why
there.
he knows.
Got
Right.
the T-shirt. I'm out.
Paul's here. I'm here. Matt's in the booth. Eric's still on holiday.
Big news.
What's that?
Big news. This studio
Oh,
has become infinitely more comfortable.
Oh, tell us why.
These chairs are just
Yeah.
fantastic.
We got new chairs.
I'm so comfortable right now. I don't know what to do. I'm used
Yeah.
to feeling like there's squeaking going on. I have no back support. Like I always feel like doing the show, you have to be slightly uncomfortable. I don't know. I might fall asleep here in this chair.
The old chairs we had looked good, but they were like chairs suitable for a malt shop for 5-year-olds. You know?
That's perfect. You got to sit up at the counter, but
Right.
you don't need any arm space. You just need to
but
get
you
up there
have
and
to
drink
be
your
like the
malt.
size of a munchkin.
Right.
that
you
was
know?
good, Fred.
You like that?
Malt shop
Well,
for 5-year-olds. I think that perfectly
Yeah.
explained
they
it.
started bad, and then our big butts just destroyed
Yeah.
them even more.
But
so.
these are
Terrible.
big,
Those were terrible chairs.
cushioning, adjustable, arms, back,
Arms.
you know.
I'm up high.
So we're ready to do 4-hour shows.
Let's go.
now. Yeah, let's go.
I'm in.
Yeah. Anyway, so we're going to be talking about Patriots. Stephon Gilmore making some waves on social media. I'm telling you, social media. I don't know. What do we do before that for like random stuff in the offseason?
No,
You
right?
know?
He throws you little bones here and that little eyeball emoji looking one way. You don't know. What does it mean?
Those
What
are my
does it mean?
favorite ones.
What does it mean?
The
I see
eyeball
something.
emojis.
I see something.
Patrick Chung's good for those.
The
He'll
eyeballs?
just throw out a word. It's like, what is that? What are you talking about? What do you mean?
Expound upon it, Patrick.
And then an announcement. One of your guys, Paul, Glenn Ordway, calling
Yeah.
it quits.
Big O.
But I do have to disagree with somebody who called him the godfather of sports talk radio in New England. Not even close.
No, I think it is close. It's him and Eddie.
Eddie Edelman. Right?
Eddie.
Yeah.
Edelman.
He used to work for Eddie. Eddie's the godfather.
But see, here's the thing: you're missing Ordway's days at the old WMEX WITS for the Red Sox back in the '70s. He used to do a post-game show.
Yeah.
With Zimmer, he used to hammer Don Zimmer. It's close.
Well,
it's close.
if you really want to get technical, it's Guy Manila calling all sports.
Yeah.
That was the first.
I mean, I'll take your word for it,
Yeah.
but like I do think that Ordway's in that conversation.
I think, but Eddie's the godfather. Don't you think?
Yeah, I think that most people would probably say that.
So, you know,
with Eddie.
Glenn can be Michael Corleone.
Yeah, okay.
You know?
Okay. But yeah, I mean, around here, and I know that maybe a lot of our listeners aren't as interested in the sports talk radio scene, but that's a big deal.
It is. It is.
It's a big deal.
And Edelman, I mean, I remember Eddie Edelman. That was my introduction to it. But he was EEI, right? Like, I mean, was he like the original? I mean, I don't know the history
Yeah.
of all of
see,
it.
Well, no,
like
before he was on EEI, he did
the sports huddle.
the sports huddle with McCarthy and Whitkin, Mark Whitkin.
Good, Fred.
That was Sunday nights.
You even got those names right.
Yeah, that was Sunday nights.
Interesting.
Yeah.
There's a whole history there of
Well, see-
sports talk radio in Boston that I'd love to know more about.
24-hour talk radio started in the early 90s with WEEI. And Eddie was part of that. But Fred's right. It goes back to the 70s with these little niche shows. And Eddie was a big part of them. That's why I think Glenn is sort of in that conversation, too. And who else did you say?
Mark Whitkin and
No, Guy Manila.
Guy Manila was calling all sports.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the medium existed, but the 24-hour format came along much later.
Yeah.
And around here, it's been gold.
It's one of the most striking
There's
things.
We have 2 24-hour
that's
stations.
what's crazy to me. Having just been in LA, I was kind of reminded of it. You guys know how sports radio drives so much here. So much of the conversation is directly in, response to what's being discussed on those stations. I'm curious how that all came about. Because I don't think was it always that case that Boston just had sports radio kind of driving conversation and people tuning, because in LA it's not really like that as much.
I'll tell
people
you,
talking
I'll tell
sports,
you what's
but
changed.
not driving conversation.
I'll tell you what's changed about sports radio and what drove it. What drove the conversation was the written word, and then they talk about it on sports radio. That's no longer the case. It is sometimes.
Well, I think it is a lot of times.
It is sometimes, but a lot of it is what's said on TV shows and podcasts and social media and all that. But it used to always be, oh, Dan Shaughnessy wrote this, and then you talk about it for 4 hours.
Yeah.
That was the driver. The newspapers, the Herald, the Globe, sometimes the Providence Journal.
It's not necessarily the newspaper, but I still think it's the written word.
You do?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of things that get written and talked about, and then they take I'll give you, like, Tom Curran gets a lot of his stuff talked about constantly on talk radio. He's a good source for that.
That's true.
Volin, they talk about Volin stuff.
Yeah, it's usually in a different way for Volin. They're usually making fun of him.
Yeah.
But Tom is a conversation starter. I think he does a good job with that.
Yeah.
I don't think that's what he's striving to do. Like, let me see if I can give talk radio, some topics. I don't think that's his idea, but
then there's still stuff that, like, Felger and Maz, like takes that are uniquely Felger and Maz that kind of send everybody into a tailspin.
Well, and then what you need to do, like, to do it well with that, is you need to find things, like, a lot of people will take the written word, as you said, Fred, and they'll generate content off of that. But you need to be able to take something from the written word and sort of explain why you think that is or it's wrong. And that's what I think Mike and Tony do well. I think most of the other guys, I don't think they get into it as much as I think, like, Zoe and Beetle. I think they'll get into that a little bit with Hardy, our boy.
Yep.
We'll be seeing him pretty soon, huh? Won't be long.
He comes out of hibernate, like, what, like, it's just weird. It's like the
We'll
last game of the season,
Hardy,
and then all of a sudden he shows up for preseason.
But Glenn with the whole. The big show in his first go around with EEI, and there's a lot of things that he did that are sort of emulated since, like the Weiner line.
He was the color guy for the Celtics, and then he became play-by-play. But like you said, Weiner line. But I have to say, with the Weiner line, I was in Colorado during the Sammy Sosa, Mark McGuire, and listening to their sports radio, and they had the Weiner line. I'm like, okay, so who came up with this?
Yeah.
It was weird.
Are there other markets out there that have the same kind of dynamic? Not that I'm aware of. Like, I'm sure New York, obviously, with Francesca and all that. But
yeah, New York does, and Philly does for sure. New York has the fan, and Philly has the WIP, the whip.
Okay.
And they have very passionate, not surprisingly, Northeast-based sports talk. Yeah. Angry sports talk.
No, it's just, it's a whole thing, and it's uniquely Boston in some ways, like even here, it's just like New York's got their own kind of twist.
Yeah,
on it
I
too.
think in terms of, like, share and that kind of stuff, I think Boston is at the top, and they win awards all the time. The shows around here,
the Marconi Awards.
Yeah, they've won. I think Mike and Tony have won it twice.
Is that right? You pay for those,
Oh, do you?
Is it one of those?
Yeah.
Like, we're honoring you at the gala, but that's
to be considered, you have to pay in.
Yeah.
And then they choose. But
so now, how many people pay in?
That's the question. Yeah, I think a lot.
2 or 3.
Like, for like.
See, I had heard about that.
Yeah, back in the day, All Access won a New England Emmy.
Right,
and then we stopped going to the banquet, and then we were never considered again.
Right. So I was very upset because I want the Emmy at my house, and then I found this out. Fred and Matt told me that you need to sort of pay to get nominated, and I'm like, oh well, I don't want to pay to have little statue at my house.
Right.
You just go buy a statue.
Yeah.
Have it engraved for yourself.
I'll just take it out of the case down here in KSP.
Right. All right. So speaking of the written word, it was on social, but somebody published a list of the top 10 cornerbacks, and Stephon Gilmore created some waves by saying, oh, okay, because he was like number 13 on it or something like that.
I don't think he's 13.
I don't even think he was on the list.
He's not on the list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that started, everybody talking about, maybe they're not as close.
See, Fred, I was ahead of the curve. You made fun of me a little bit on Tuesday. That's, when I told you, did you read my notes?
Right. Maybe
he's at the top of the to-do list.
Right. Maybe they're not as close as people think if he's coming out and saying that on, like you would think that, if we're close, I'm not going to, ruffle any feathers by saying something. But he did. So that tells us maybe they're not.
Yeah. I mean, I was asking Paul a little bit about this morning just as, I remember Deion Branch kind of doing a similar thing, kind of holding out. And, what was – I mean, I think when that was all happening, I just assumed that they would figure it out just because you needed the guy so bad. And that's where I kind of come with Gilmore. And we talked plenty about the depth behind him and, what a different defense they are without him. I think he transforms your whole defense even with – kind of the work they've done up front and the options, which you still don't really know what you're going to get. So, I mean, I think that continues to be my thought of, like, it just makes too much sense for everybody. I get that he wants a little more money, but, with all these void years and all that stuff, like, there's got to be a way that they could figure something out, I would think.
I think if they're offering him a little bit, then give him a little bit more because I think that the success of this year's team depends on how good that defense is. Because no matter what you say, it's either going to be Cam Newton or Mac Jones as your quarterback. So there's going to be some, bumps in the road.
Yeah.
No matter who's the quarterback, and so you really need that defense to kind of help them out.
I just look at like the Bucs. I mean, not to make more of that game than is already going to be made of it, but you just look at trying to match up with a team like that. If you don't have the cornerbacks, you're talking like, oh, well, we got Jawan Williams on Mike Evans or, on Chris Godwin, like those are the kind of matchups that you start to talk about when you don't have Gilmore and Jackson up at the top to kind of do it. So I continue to hope that they can figure something out, but I don't know. Do you mean things shut down right now? Do you think that this will be no action till training camp and then they kind of get back into it? Everybody's on vacations, or is people still kind of working now behind the scenes?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Could be at any
point.
I mean, you don't need to necessarily not be on vacation to have conversations, with Gilmore and the team. But, I mean, I think it's pretty clear that he's looking for some more, and I'm not sure that the team is looking to give him that much more. And I certainly think coming off an injury at his age, to me it's a major injury. I know it was poo-pooed last year, but to me a torn quad that required surgery to repair is a major injury at 31. I mean, are they willing to go and extend him?
Right.
I'm not sure that they would be.
Speaking of Tom Curran, he had a question earlier this offseason directed to Bill about, do you even know where he is in his rehab?
Yeah. I
think that's important.
Totally. Totally. It's a whole nother layer to this. I mean, usually you have guys that, all right, he wants a little more money, but when you have, like Paul said, a 31-year-old guy coming off a torn quad, I just think that Gilmore, to me, and this is just my personal impression of that, he doesn't take things personally, really. He just seems like he'll say his point, but
I disagree.
Really?
Yeah. I think he's sneaky cocky and he's sneaky sensitive.
Yeah, I think he's I would agree with the cocky for sure.
Yeah.
I think he's extremely sensitive. I think you see that manifested in, I think, his wife tweeting on his behalf a lot.
Yeah.
And like that to me does not go on without you knowing about it.
Right. And we've heard him in the locker room talking about other guys who have made comments at cornerback and him. Oh yeah. He doesn't.
He's a good zone guy.
Right. Exactly.
Have I been lulled to sleep by his quiet voice?
Oh yeah.
I think everybody has. Deuce.
Yeah. No, he's right up there. He just isn't loud about it.
Yeah. I guess what I wonder is he the kind of guy that's like, they've disrespected me and I'm done? Is he that guy who could? I don't know. Like that's like the way that like okay. I don't think he's
I don't think
guy.
that. No, I agree with you on that, Mike. I don't think he's one of those guys that will say, well, they offered me $7 million and they said, well, we'll give you $8 million, and I'm looking for 12.
In other words, he's not Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, I don't see it that way. Yeah. But I do think that the fact that they're sort of not willing to just, well, obviously he's worth more than $7 million. We're going to give him 10. Right away. Yeah, I think that he takes that personal. I think Fred's right about that, but I don't think it's a deal breaker.
Yeah,
and I think right now. What does Andrew Brandt always say? Andrew Brandt on Twitter, I think, is one of really, really good follows in terms of contractual stuff because he did this. He was in the business from the team side or the GM, and he always says it's the deadlines. Deadlines spur action, right? And I know it seems like we're getting to the nitty gritty, but we're not. What happens once we get to the end of the month, and he decides not to show up? Well, that's going to spur some action if nothing has happened between that now and then. Then I'll start to worry about it in terms of, what the secondary is going to look like. Because, first and foremost, we're all fans. That's what we're interested in, right? What's the team going to look like? But from his perspective, is he willing to sit out camp and subject himself to fines? Which now, with the new CBA, evidently, he has to pay. Yeah. The team can't waive them.
Oh, in the past, a lot of times this stuff would get handled like a week or two in the camp. And then the guy would come back on the field and they'd be high-fiving during warm-ups. Hey, welcome back. All that stuff, the public display. But now, like you said, Paul, he has no choice but to pay back those fines because in the past it'd be like, okay, we're gonna forget the fines.
Yeah, could they say part of the contract maybe that
it's all good
we'll reimburse you for what you had to pay?
Bygones be by. But now I don't think he can do that anymore.
Yeah. I just go back to when we were talking about J.C. Horn during the draft. I think this is kind of a concern that you saw coming a little bit, and that's why I think you added Jalen Mills. We saw him playing safety, playing corner. He's done all of that stuff, but is he an outside press man corner? I don't think so. So I don't know. I just you get to these points, and I felt kind of the same way last year about quarterback, where it was like, man, we feel a little light here, a little light. And same thing with cornerback this year. It feels like a little light, couple injuries away from really changing that defense.
As we always say, look at what they do, not what they say.
Right.
And if in the next few weeks they bring in a veteran cornerback, we'll
Yeah.
know
And
where
they had like
stand.
Minka Fitzpatrick a month ago, but so, that would put my radar up for a second.
Hi-ho. It was Drake
Kirkpatrick. Minka Fitzpatrick, Kirkpatrick. Too many Patricks.
Big difference.
Sorry, I'm a little jet lagged here, but vacation.
Big difference, guy. But Mike's right. They have kicked the tires on at least one veteran that we know of.
Yep.
So maybe that's the insurance that they're looking for. Who knows?
Yeah.
And then training camp yesterday, I saw that was
So
announced.
yesterday marked the exact 4-week mark of the opening of training camp. July 28th, a Wednesday, will be the first public day that you can come and watch the team.
And live shows. Are we gonna fire up some
First 4 days?
First 4 days, we're going to do live shows from camp.
Nice.
Yep.
So that's 28th through 31st, and then we also announced the season ticket member
There's a
/
couple
Foxborough resident in
there's
stadium.
Actually 2 dates. The 6th is Foxborough residents and season ticket member in stadium practice, and then the 10th, I believe, 2 days before the first preseason game, another in stadium, but it's open to the public.
Wow.
So
That's a new. They usually do the season ticket holder resident one. That's a common
Right.
kind of thing. But yeah, that's fun and like just a regular morning practice inside the stadium.
yeah, I think kind of get the stadium ready for preseason. Open it up. It's you got to get those cobwebs out. We haven't had a football game in here in like 2 years.
Yeah. And therere's only two.
Well, that's not true, but with fans.
Yeah. Well, there's only one preseason game too, so a little bit of an opportunity for fans to see some action inside. I'm just excited to have training camp back. Last year was such a blur. We didn't even know when it was going to start, and then all of a sudden it was like we're all in the parking lot getting tested. Like, all right, here we go. Training camp starting tomorrow. But it'll be fun and to see fans back and that energy and all that stuff.
855-PATS-500 is the Ace Ticket hotline. 855-PATS-500. Web radio at patriots.com is the email address. Brian Morey joined us Tuesday. A lot of people like the show. Do some
Great. It was a
great
great.
to tell you.
I thought it was a great history show.
Yeah.
I thought we did a good job of telling some of the stories.
Is he up on his current Pats?
No, no. He wasn't up on the former ones either. But he had some.
There's Eric, to be fair. So
he did. He had some good stories, and some of them Fred and I had known about. So we sort of were able to get him to go in those. directions.
That was some of my favorite stories when I got here was about Brian driving you crazy.
Oh yeah.
So
those were legendary. One time I just went into Fred's office and I sat down and Fred looked at me. He was like, "What's the matter?" And I'm like, "He's driving me crazy." That's all I said. He's driving me crazy. And Fred just started laughing.
all right. So I guess that's the set table.
Yeah. Kind of in that void right now of vacations and people taking some.
We did
time
see.
off
I don't know if it was an Instagram picture, Cam Newton and a couple other
Jonnu.
guys.
So it was good to see
Jonnu
Jonnu
Smith
out there
running.
Yeah, as opposed to his disappointing
Yep.
mini camp kind of appearance. So I guess it wasn't too serious. That's a good sign.
Yep. So that's the new thing now is players taking pictures of themselves working out with their shirts off. And I guess if I look like that, I'd be doing the same thing. But
It's hot. I mean, it's been
Yeah.
a heat wave a lot of the country. So
yeah, it's ridiculous.
I'm glad we weren't up in Portland and Seattle. I mean, that was up
111
there.
degrees.
Crazy.
I
mean,
mean,
here was bad too, wasn't it?
we got up in the 90s.
Yeah.
Mid 90s. Yeah.
Lucky it wasn't bad in California, but yeah, up in Portland, man, they're getting roasted.
Yep. All right. Let's hit the Ace Ticket Hotline. We'll start with Melvin in Tennessee. What's up, Melvin?
What's up, y'all? What's going on?
Hey, Mo. New
Hey.
chairs.
Good for y'all. I got a question. I know people love, I think y'all talk about movies and all that stuff like that. People love bad guys, right?
Yeah.
And I think people get attached to that. I know when I first called this show, first person I immediately attached to was Andy. I don't know. His bully nature was funny. It's good for entertainment. So if you're watching stuff like that, and speaking of football, who do you think is going to be the NFL's, next big bad guy? I know Brady was that guy and carried that torch for a long time, but it feels like that opinion has kind of changed. And there's a missing void of just, a player or a team that's actually going to be somewhat relevant, but still, teams, eventually you can kind of get up to play them and kind of hate them a little bit. So who do you think is going to be that team?
Well, it's a good point because for so long the Patriots were so dominant that no other team had the chance to become that kind of bully, bad, like in the past with the Bears and the Steelers and all that. I don't know. I mean, can Patrick Mahomes ever be a bad guy?
That's what I was thinking. But I think at a certain point, and we're probably not there yet, especially with the way they lost the Super Bowl, but, I think people will get sick of them. I mean, they're mostly likable, but there are some unlikable
And I don't think you need to have an actual bad guy to have that team. I don't think Peyton Manning was a bad guy, but we hated him. We hated the Colts, right?
Yeah.
So I think you could hate the Chiefs.
Yeah.
And Mahomes because he's good.
Yeah.
I'm curious what the Bucks, the reactions to the Bucks will be this year, because I think everybody was kind of wide-eyed and, wow, isn't this cool? But at a certain point, I think people are going to get sick of it, especially with Brady. So I don't know. I mean, it still could be Brady, at least for this year, maybe.
Yeah, it'd be good for a little while, but I know, Paul, you made fun of fans for a while and saying that I guess that I really hated everybody else when the Patriots were winning and the hating on the Patriots and all that kind of stuff like that. But as soon as we're done, the Chiefs, I can't stand the Chiefs with that passion already that they're not even been that good for that long. But I hated that the Cowboys fans are already hating on the Patriots. And now as soon as our Patriots dynasty is over, I've already seen the team and I know how good they are, and I just don't like them. For whatever reason it is, with a strong passion, I just don't particularly like them. And it'll be good if somebody like Dallas were to emerge to be that team, but you can't be that team be 8-8 every year. So,
right.
Yeah, they're the only two teams right now, like Tampa and Kansas City, that really feel established. There's so many other teams that, like the Bills, where even though we're rivals, I
think Baltimore's one.
Part of me feels good for
that
them.
sort of
Thanks,
factors
Melvin.
into that all the time. I think Baltimore's a team that elicits some strong feelings from people.
Yeah.
Negative.
Sure.
Yeah, I just think the NFL is a lot in transition right now of teams where, Green Bay was great last year. What are they going to be? What's going to happen with Houston? But, there's so many upstarts where it's it's kind of easy to root for the Titans. It's kind of easy to root for the
Browns
Bills. Kind of easy to root for the Browns.
Yeah, I would agree. All those teams I
kinda
find rootable
Yeah.
For different reasons. But I think it's such an individual thing. I mean, to find the thing that Melvin's looking for, I think you got to be really, really good. I think Kansas City would fall into that category.
Yeah.
I hate Green Bay. I've always hated the Packers. I just, and I don't really like Rodgers. I didn't like Favre. So it was easy for me not to like them. But I don't think a lot of people feel that way.
Yeah, and it changes too, because even watching the Colts now, remembering just the visceral reaction I would have to seeing the Colts.
See, I
and now
hated Bill
kinda
Polian. I did,
Yeah.
and Fred used to call him Polian. We used to laugh at it
Because he would lie.
Right. I hated Bill Polian, but I never really hated Tony Dungy or Peyton Manning or the team itself. I thought they were a good team, and the Patriots used to get the better of them early, and then later the Colts got the better of the Patriots. Like, I thought it was a good rivalry.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh, I hated Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I've never really hated Pitt. But it's like those teams, you know. It's like you respect them, you want to beat them. It's not like I hate them arbitrarily, you know. Like
but it's like
they're good. They're
it's like
competitive with
envy
us.
hate.
Yeah.
Well, even like around New England, you used to hate the Raiders. Like the Raiders were a team
Yep.
that you didn't like. But now, like, who are they? I don't even know.
Right, they're not good enough to hate anyone.
Right.
Yeah.
You know?
I agree with you. That's how I feel about Dallas.
Yeah.
Dallas is good enough to you really get mad every week when they win.
Right.
Still.
Right.
I appreciate that. Like, I don't think they're good enough to feel like that anymore.
Well, I just don't. This moniker, the America's team, and everything they do turns to gold. Why? They don't deserve it.
Yeah.
I'm jealous.
They just established their brand
Yeah.
well ahead of everybody else.
It's like, you're not even like, at least the Yankees contend for, and Montreal Canadiens contend, and, Manchester United contends. I'm talking about iconic teams in their leagues. The Yankees, the Cowboys don't contend.
Yeah. They're just skating
yet
by.
they remain
by in the
an
success of the
iconic
90s.
team,
Yeah. Well, speaking of hating too, I caught the Cam Newton, comments about dealing with the haters, and
oh God,
I just, it's, and I saw some of this reaction too, where it's like, I don't hate the guy at all. Like I've been rooting for him all along. It's just,
I think there are haters of the player.
Yeah. Yeah,
there are.
But I don't think that the majority. I think a lot of the criticism that came towards Cam was warranted. It wasn't simply
right.
I hate him. I'm not even going to give him a chance. I think everybody was really excited to have him here. At least the majority of people were excited to have him here and wanted him to be successful. And were disappointed with his performance. And there's still people like me who said, "Hey, I'm going to give him another chance." And then I was again after the first couple of days of camp disappointed. Third day at camp he cleaned it up. But
yeah, he's the opposite of Brady. People hated Brady because he was good. If there are people that hate Cam, it's because he's not playing.
Yeah, because he's not playing up to what they
want. It's not
want.
because of who he is.
Well, and I just hate the whole thing, like the haters.
Haters.
So if you say a guy didn't play well, that means you're a hater?
Well,
or are you saying, factually, the guy didn't play well?
Yeah, right. But you're not a hater if you do that. But when you do what like Tony does, he sucks and he blows.
No, but he's talking about his play.
I know, but it's so harsh. They're human beings.
Oh, please.
That's hating.
Oh, please.
It's
not
like,
hating.
It's
it's evaluating a guy's performance.
I know, but
it's not hating the person.
I don't like that. I don't.
Yeah, I'd like to inject some nuance into it, but last year it's like you didn't even need nuance to really.
No, but you could talk nuance or whatever.
terrible.
But saying that he sucks, you're not saying that he sucks as a person. You're saying that he threw 8 touchdown passes in an entire season. You're saying that sucked.
Yeah,
it's not hating the person. And maybe they're using terminology that some people don't like, but it's about evaluating how the guy played.
Right.
That's it. It's kind of factual.
Yeah.
It's not really nuanced. It's did you think he played well or not? And most people would say no.
Yeah.
Right?
But
and he deems that as being the haters. I don't get that.
Well, and then they had the music playing and everything. That was ridiculous.
I don't know what that is.
When he was talking to his trainer, I guess it was on a podcast.
Oh.
And
swell.
How do you process?
Oh God.
The hate. And there's music swelling in the background. It's like, are you kidding me?
See, I'm going to go all Goodell on you. I don't really agree with the premise.
Right.
How do you process the hate? There is no hate.
Right.
There's disappointment.
But
I'm a Patriots fan, and I expect more out of my quarterback. Doesn't mean I hate you. I don't hate you.
But
I want to not hate you.
I
want to like you.
I want to like you.
It's a lot. It's just so overwrought. It's like, every word we're about to say is precious.
But, I love those guys. It means so much to me to say this.
Right.
In a way.
I'm really this is coming from the depths of my mind.
That truly emotes my feelings.
Pregnant pause.
Yeah.
Well, it's like the
Eric.
Well, I never had any formal
artistic training.
Do we still have that?
I have no formal artistic training.
And we're supposed to go, oh my God, oh God, how does he paint by numbers without any training?
Work of art.
Relax.
I just immediately think I'm going to go on Twitter Scal, no formal artistic training.
Oh, God. Anyway.
Big contract yesterday for Ryan Ramczyk.
Yeah. That was a lot.
5 years, $96 million. Quite a draft class there for that 17 Saints draft class.
Who else was in
Lattimore,
that?
Ramczyk, Kamara, Marcus Williams.
Could use one of those.
Yeah. Phones are stacking up here. Dan's in Minnesota. What's up, Dan?
Hey, guys.
Hey,
Dan.
Not much. Since I'm from Minnesota, I feel like I got to start out by apologizing for that horrible cold weather during the Super Bowl.
They still complain about it.
That was brutal.
Well, we had a little heat wave here this past week, so I warmed up. I finally warmed up from that trip.
Yeah,
nice.
It takes us that long, too. It's kind of the culture here. We all start by apologizing for Minnesota, but what we really mean is we're sorry you're not man enough to handle real weather.
I wasn't man enough to handle that mall. I was, I don't think I've been to a mall since.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I was going to say the mall got as many complaints as the weather did.
No, because you had to be in the mall,
whole time.
24/7.
Right.
Well, Minnesotans are split on the mall, too. Half hate the mall and half think it's awesome. But the real reason I'm calling is this morning I enjoyed listening to the podcast of Tuesday's show, and they're reminiscing about 1999 through 2001, kind of the transition from Bledsoe to Brady. Brought up this memory, and I need your help with my memory. During the 2001 season, I was in Minnesota, living in Minnesota, so I didn't get to watch many of the games, but there was one game that I watched during the season, and I distinctly remember saying at the conclusion of the game, Patriots are going to win the Super Bowl this year. It was like this. I don't know if you ever
What
had
year
this
was
moment.
this?
In 01.
2001.
Yeah. You and Gil Santos.
Well, I don't know if you've ever had like this moment of intuition where everything just kind of comes together in your mind and this blurts out of your mouth something that you just have a strong feeling about. The only person I said it to was my wife at the time. And, she wasn't much of a football fan, so she was like, "Oh, that's nice, honey."
So you're asking us to remind you which game it was that you thought that?
Well,
because was it the Rams game? Because around here, that was a game where players and coaches said, "Okay, we know we can beat any team in this league," and they lost that game, but they knew they could have won that game.
Right. I mean, what was it about? See, I don't remember the games in detail like some of you do. But what was it about that game that might have made me think that?
Was it the Rams game? I don't know. You tell me.
It could be. Let's say it was.
Well, like three of the Rams got carried off the field. Right? I mean, they
it was a hard-fought physical game, and they showed that while the Rams moved the ball all over the place, they could slow them down off the scoreboard, keep the points modest, and that was the height of the greatest show on turf days.
Right.
So I think that people said, "Oh yeah, this defense can play with anybody."
Yeah.
The Rams were the odds-on favorites to go to the Super Bowl again, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's got to be the game.
Yeah.
Because I remember one of the things that I often did is I would look at the odds for the games. I was never a gambler, but I liked looking at the odds just to kind of get an idea what people were thinking about the different teams. And after that game, if it was that game, I remember looking at the odds for the Patriots to win the Super Bowl. And they were astronomical.
Well, they were 40-1 to begin the season, and I know that because I might have done something.
Oh, I don't think that was the year. Wasn't that 96 that you did that?
No. Oh.
They had to be way higher than 40-1 in 01, coming off a 5-11 season.
What game were they up 14-10 at halftime?
After the first quarter, the Green Bay game.
Okay, so maybe that was 96.
Super Bowl 36.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was 40-1 there.
I speak, Fred.
Yeah.
And they were 14-point underdogs. That was the most, I think, of any Super Bowl team as an underdog in the Super Bowl.
Now you're talking 01.
Yeah, 01.
Well, the Jets.
Right, but I'm talking
the Jets beat the Colts. They were more.
They were more?
What were the odds that the Patriots were going to win the Super Bowl in the middle of the 2001 season? And I want to say the odds were over 100 to 1.
It could be.
Yeah,
sure.
That's probably
with
right.
Brady, nobody knew about Brady. Yeah, I would say
I
that.
mean, they didn't really.
Yeah,
They
what were
didn't even
they?
clinch the playoffs until
Right.
week 15 or
Yeah,
16.
I could see that being 100 to 1. Sure.
Like
That's
they
what
won
I
the
remember
division
in my
in the
head.
last game against the Dolphins, the last game at Foxborough Stadium, the old Foxborough Stadium.
Yep.
That was the second to last game of the year. So like, it's not like they were even guaranteed to make the playoffs, let alone win the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
They were 5-5 after that Rams game,
Yeah.
and then they never lost again.
Yeah.
Right, and when they made the transition from Brady to Bledsoe, I didn't know anything about Brady. All I knew was that he had leapfrogged Heward to be Bledsoe's backup, but I didn't know anything else about him. And so I didn't know what to think. But there was something about the performance and I think it was that game. It feels right to me now that you're talking about it, that it was something about his performance in that game plus the defense's performance that just made me say that.
Okay.
They're going to win the Super Bowl this year.
Well, you know what, Dan?
And
you were right.
You were right.
Yeah. You were right.
yeah, at the end of the season, I remember talking to my wife about it again, saying, "Do you remember me telling you that?" Could you imagine?
Right. No.
$100 on.
I don't listen to anything you say when you're watching football.
Right.
Correct.
Yeah.
All right, Dan. Thanks for the call. Appreciate it.
See, I'm the opposite. I remember knowing when teams aren't going to win the Super Bowl. Like that, I never felt like, even in the height of it, that we got it. But there were certainly times where you're like, I see what this team's fatal flaw is, and that's what's going to get them beat. Like that's the feeling I've had over the years. But I never felt until they won the Super Bowl. I mean, 18 was probably the biggest.
I have to be honest. I never thought they were going to win the Super Bowl until the game was over.
Yeah.
Till Adams' kick went through the uprights.
Yeah. Right.
Never thought they were going to win.
No, you thought Rams were just going to pull it out in overtime. But, well, it was a good try, guys. But
in 07, remember Gil? I saw this team in training camp.
07, they put together a drive in the third preseason game, and Gil claims that he knew they were going to go undefeated after that.
Well, that third preseason game, it is like a dress rehearsal from what I've heard.
Let's go to Willie in Philly. What's up, Will?
Hello, Clay. How you doing?
Good.
Hey.
Okay. Hey, how you doing, Paul?
Hey, what's up?
All right now. My question is, I get the quarterback position is, well, y'all very talking about that very strongly, and I understand why. It is a question. But I'm wondering why Patriots Unfiltered doesn't talk a little bit, just as much as the quarterback position, the wide receiver position.
Well, we don't talk about it as much, but we do talk about it. But you're
I
right.
talk about it constantly. I have a lot of concerns about
it's
the wide
it's an
receiver
issue. I mean, we don't know how good Bourne and Aguilar are going to be.
Right.
And then there were talks in minicamp that Jacoby Myers looks like he could be the number one receiver. Well, that's good for Jacoby Myers, but not necessarily good for the offense.
Yeah, I was a little underwhelmed by the two free agency guys. I mean, it is minicamp, but I was the one poo-pooing Julio, and we got out there, and I think there are big questions at the receiver position.
But listen, if you look at it on paper, okay, when you look at the stability of the offensive line, what it looks like, if we look at if the two tight ends can live up to their contracts, we've got a strong running back unit. I think they can be good. I think they can be good if the quarterback, whoever it is, just plays average.
Yeah. Just get them the ball.
Yeah.
I mean, I generally agree. I mean, I think, you're never going to have great running backs, great tight ends, great wide. You're probably going to have a little bit of a spectrum, but right now it's a concern. And, especially if the running game isn't going, if they're in third and longs. I mean, I think last year that was why Burkhead was so valuable. Burkhead was great on second down. When they were able to kind of move the ball, it was because they were in third and 3. So, if they're able to have early down success and you're not, as dependent on the receivers that – but I'm real curious to see how those guys do. I don't know what was up with Aguilar at the end of, just kind of watching the last session. Bourne saying all the right things. He looked nice a couple times catching balls. He had, a bunch of drops too. So I just think the jury's totally out. Jury's totally out on those guys.
Yeah, I think they're going to rely on those two tight ends a lot. I think that's what they think is their number one receiver is Henry and Smith.
Yeah. But as we do a lot of seasons, and this may be more than ever with this offense, there's a lot of ifs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of ifs.
Yeah.
And how many
So-
games do you get with Smith and Henry 100% healthy? How many games do you get from Michelle and Harris 100% healthy? You know, like, I mean, Harris could have a breakout year. He could be one of the best backs in the league if he were to play 16 games. But I don't know. All the 4 of those guys have had injury issues.
It's a great point, Mike.
You know?
I think especially the tight ends. I think you're fine as long as you have one Harris or Michelle 100% healthy or close to it. But I think you lose a lot with one of the tight ends not being healthy because of the way I think they want to play.
Right. Yeah. They have to keep defenses on their heels because they don't have even one player who could just dominate.
Yeah.
You know?
Or is there, a scenario where one of them gets hurt and, hey, Devin Asiasi, who had a nice little maybe he steps in and, hey, shows us a little something. Maybe. Forget him. Maybe Matt Lacoste. You never know.
All right, let's not get silly.
Well, thank you, gentlemen, for answering my question.
Okay, well,
William, I'm definitely with you on the wide receiver concern. I think it is something to sort of keep an eye on.
Yeah.
I think like the one-on-ones are going to be, that's fun. See what those guys can do, as pros. I mean, I think we get last 2 camps. You're kind of so used to watching. Okay, Edelman just went through. He looks like, and then you got young guys or guys that are, coming up, working an injury or something. So. That was a big question in the mailbag was Harry. How does he fit in? And everybody wants to move his position.
It's so funny.
We don't even mention
first-round pick.
Yep.
I think people have given up.
And we just rattled off Jacoby Myers and Bourne and Aguilar. And
that's when you get to Harry.
And we don't even talk about Harry, and he was a first-round pick.
Is there, and that's what I'm asking myself this question, it's just, is there any universe where something clicks for him?
I think there is. I think there is. It not like all world, but I think there is where he is a marked improvement.
Could he just be effective? Can he just kind of get contested catches? I mean, maybe he has better matchups with those tight ends because, teams are left with, all right, we got one big corner we can stick on Hunter Henry, but, maybe Harry gets a matchup, benefit.
Yeah.
I just don't know. I feel so either way on him, and I mean, I lean towards he's, an ancillary piece of it all, but you can't look at him on the field and be like, the guy looks like a beast. Like I can't, I can't look him walk on the field.
I guess we're looking at it at the right way for our sanity. We're not really, he's not on our radar, but if he does emerge, great. Now it's something we weren't counting on.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
No.
Brian's in Indiana. What's up, Brian?
Hey, how y'all doing this morning?
We're doing
hey,
okay.
Brian.
Yeah.
Hey, I know I'm talking against the wind, but I hope Bill comes out of this fog, and I really want to see Mac start from day one. I'm so sick of Cam. To go back to the stuff with the haters, I agree 100% with Paul. Cam is such a con artist. That's why I never liked him. I never wanted him in New England. And the Freggies of the world fall for that crap, which is why he's still playing. I listen to Felger and Maz occasionally, and I kind of heard the segment that you could be talking about. Maz was very animated with his feelings on the way Cam Newton played, but that's what he's talking about, the way Cam Newton played. It wasn't a personal attack. It was if Maz was saying that stuff about Aaron Rodgers, that's hating, because to say Aaron Rodgers sucks and he blows and all of that is just the furthest thing from the truth.
Yeah, but it's also the truth. He's a jerk too. So I mean,
no, but that's different than Aaron Rodgers can say. Like Brian said, they're haters.
I'm just talking about him talking about the way Cam's not. That dude knows exactly what he's doing. He know what his play looked like last year. He wasted no time telling us every press conference how he sucked.
Brian's got the nail right on the head. Right? You know what he's doing? Brian's right.
Says that they're hating. No, they're talking about the way you play, dude. Nothing more than that. Yep. As far as all the other stuff, everybody loves you, which I don't, because I feel like it's all I have.
But he's setting that up so he can see even if it works on 10%, 20%, whatever, people buy it. Oh, you know what? Maybe we should embrace him more. Like. It's not fit like that. The haters. Let's see if we can be on his side.
But,
he's trying
Paul,
to.
You're right. I mean, he's certainly playing the PR game.
That's what he's doing.
Yep.
Hey, Paul, check this one out though. I know Freddie And the minute he ain't wearing the Patriots uniform no more, that stuff won't work.
Oh, please. The ink won't even be dry in the transaction.
Okay, but let's be fair. When he was with Carolina, we talked about Cam on this show, and I criticized him for his huddle demeanor and his cadence, but we all respected his play because then he was playing well.
I didn't. I felt like I hear people talk MVP. Yeah, so was Rich Gannon. So was Matt Ryan. How y'all feel about them? I mean, to me, Cam had one great season his whole career. Everything else, if you really look at his stats, and no, I know that stats don't tell the whole story before Paul jumps down my throat.
I'm not jumping down your throat. I'm
with you, baby.
When you really take an honest and open look, like I feel like all of this stuff, especially with Patriots Nation, Cam Newton's the embodiment of his whole career is looked on with rose-colored glasses because he's one of us now, period.
Okay. All right. Well,
yeah, I agree with everything Brian's saying. I think what I want this year.
Good take, Brian.
No excuses this year. Like we heard all that last year. We've heard he's a good guy, all that. That's all settled.
But they changed the offense again.
Yeah. You got to produce this year. Like if we are going through another season where he is performing like he performed last year, and then we got to sit and listen to the excuses and they keep rolling them out.
This year he had
a
full off season and he's tired.
Right. So so no excuses. Like just get out there and perform. And if you don't, I think Mac was just so up and down. It's hard for me seeing just mini camp to say let's just go with him. That's a little, but maybe in camp it'll
forget
start
about
to
everything you saw in mini camp. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
His brain was swimming.
But in terms of Brian's wish that he let off the whole call, I don't dismiss the Mac Jones possibility. I do not dismiss that. I think he looked good.
Yeah.
For the most part during those spring camps. Let's see what he looks like in training camp.
Yeah. And I would hope
see if he can build on it.
Yeah, I would hope that some of the backsliding that we saw at some of the practices was because they said, let's put more on his plate.
Yeah.
It's not like, he regressed. He had that yesterday. He didn't. Let's throw this at him. Let's really start to throw stuff at him so he knows when we go for this break before training camp how much he's got to work on, how long he has to go, and that's going to be his last memory from mini camp.
Yeah, I think you're right, but we don't know. But I think you're right, Deuce.
Yeah.
I think that's what they did.
Yeah.
Listen, don't be going to like St. Croix or anything during this month.
Foxborough, right there.
You got
You're right there.
We just showed you how much you need to know.
Yeah.
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 All right, we're going to take a break, eat some food. When we come back, more of your calls and emails here on Patriots Unfiltered.
We are Patriots, and our standards are a little different. We don't just carry the hopes of a city, but the hopes of an entire region. For us, no uphill battle is ever too high to climb, and our favorite ring is the next one. Our job isn't done until the final down is played, and everyone knows we gave it our all. We, the fans, march forward with the power to do what it takes, just like we've done time and time again. We are the home field advantage. Bank of America is proud to be the official bank of the New England Patriots and stand with them as they defy the odds. Copyright 2020 Bank of America Corporation.
There's no season better than football season, and there's no better place to get in on all of the action than with DraftKings, the official daily fantasy sports partner of the New England Patriots. To add to the thrill, DraftKings has millions of dollars in prizes up for grabs every week, so head to the app now and check it out. If you haven't tried it yet, fantasy football is easy to play. Just pick 9 players, stay under the salary cap, and pile up points for yards, touchdowns, receptions, and so much more. There's no better way to put your football knowledge to the test than to compete for a shot at $1 million in total prizes. Download the DraftKings app now and use promo code PATS to get a shot at millions of dollars in total prizes every week. That's promo code PATS to get a shot at millions of dollars in total prizes every week, only at DraftKings. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details.
Some people are never content with simply being good. Not when they can be great. But it takes a big step to get there. In fact, it takes a leap of faith. A belief in what you're striving toward. and a willingness to make the commitment day in and day out to something bigger than yourself. Putnam is proud to partner with those who share their own commitment to performance excellence. This is Matt Light for Putnam Investments, a world of investing. Some people are never content with simply being good, not when they can be great, but it takes a big step to get there. In fact, it takes a leap of faith, a belief in what you're striving toward, and a willingness to make the commitment day in and day out to something bigger than yourself. Putnam is proud to partner with those who share their own commitment to performance excellence. This is Matt Light for Putnam Investments, a world of investing.
In sports, if you think joy only happens after you win, think again. Look at the world's most successful athletes like Serena Williams, Brooks Koepka, and Alex Morgan. They don't spend all their days grinding away. They take time to enjoy themselves, like getting together with friends over a Michelob Ultra, because they know that happiness is the key to winning, and that joy is the whole game, not just the end game. Michelob Ultra. 95 calories, 2.6 grams of carbs. It's only worth it if you enjoy it. Enjoy responsibly. AB Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
We deliver jerseys, funny foam fingers, and everything you need for the game. But what you really get is so much more.
FedEx Delivery.
Game day spirit. What we deliver by delivering.
How did Verizon build the fastest 5G in the world? We started by building it right with 5G Ultra Wideband. Then we gave it massive capacity and near zero lag. And it's not just fast, it's 25 times faster than today's 4G networks. This is 5G built right from the network more people rely on. Only on Verizon. 5G Ultra Wideband available only in parts of select cities. Global claim based on open signal independent analysis. 25 times analysis by Ookla Speed Test Intelligence data Q2 2020.
At Patriot Place, our restaurants and entertainment venues continue to go above and beyond all health and sanitization protocols to ensure we are welcoming our guests back safely. At all our venues, you will see frequent and thorough sanitization, socially distanced seating, and mandatory face masks. Whether you choose to dine indoors, outdoors, or takeout, you can feel good about dining safely. Everyone at Patriot Place looks forward to seeing old and new friends soon.
We are patriots, and our standards are a little different. We don't just carry the hopes of a city, but the hopes of an entire region. For us, no uphill battle is ever too high to climb. And our favorite ring is the next one. Our job isn't done until the final down is played. And everyone knows we gave it our all. We the fans march forward with the power to do what it takes. Just like we've done time and time again. We are the home field advantage. Bank of America is proud to be the official bank of the New England Patriots and stand with them as they defy the odds. Copyright 2020 Bank of America Corporation.
There's no season better than football season. And there's no better place to get in on all of the action than with DraftKings, the official daily fantasy sports partner of the New England Patriots. To add to the thrill, DraftKings has millions of dollars in prizes up for grabs every week. So head to the app now and check it out. If you haven't tried it yet, fantasy football is easy to play. Just pick 9 players, stay under the salary cap, and pile up points for yards, touchdowns, receptions, and so much more. There's no better way to put your football knowledge to the test than to compete for a shot at $1 million in total prizes. Download the DraftKings app now and use promo code PATS to get a shot at millions of dollars in total prizes every week. That's promo code PATS to get a shot at millions of dollars in total prizes every week, only at DraftKings. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details.
Some people are never content with simply being good, not when they can be great, but it takes a big step to get there. In fact, it takes a leap of faith, a belief in what you're striving toward, and a willingness to make the commitment day in and day out to something bigger than yourself. Putnam is proud to partner with those who share their own commitment to performance excellence. This is Matt Light for Putnam Investments, a world of investing. Some people are never content with simply being good, not when they can be great. But it takes a big step to get there. In fact, it takes a leap of faith, a belief in what you're striving toward, and a willingness to make the commitment day in and day out to something bigger than yourself. Putnam is proud to partner with those who share their own commitment to performance excellence. This is Matt Light for Putnam Investments, a world of investing.
In sports, if you think joy only happens after you win, think again. Look at the world's most successful athletes like Serena Williams, Brooks Koepka, and Alex Morgan. They don't spend all their days grinding away. They take time to enjoy themselves, like getting together with friends over a Michelob Ultra, because they know that happiness is the key to winning, and that joy is the whole game, not just the end game. Michelob Ultra. 95 calories, 2.6 grams of carbs. It's only worth it if you enjoy it. Enjoy responsibly. AB Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
We deliver jerseys, funny foam fingers, and everything you need for the game. But what you really get is so much more.
FedEx Delivery.
Game day spirit. What we deliver by delivering.
How did Verizon build the fastest 5G in the world? We started by building it right with 5G ultra wideband. Then we gave it massive capacity and near zero lag. And it's not just fast, it's 25 times faster than today's 4G networks. This is 5G built right from the network more people rely on. Only on Verizon. 5G ultra wideband available only in parts of select cities. Global claim based on open signal independent analysis. 25 times analysis by Ookla Speed Test Intelligence data Q2 2020.
At Patriot Place, our restaurants and entertainment venues continue to go above and beyond all health and sanitization protocols to ensure we are welcoming our guests back safely. At all our venues, you will see frequent and thorough sanitization, socially distanced seating, and mandatory face masks. Whether you choose to dine indoors, outdoors, or takeout, you can feel good about dining safely. Everyone at Patriot Place looks forward to seeing old and new friends soon.
And now, great moments in history.
She had one where she was talking smack about Drew Bledsoe. I'll send that to you.
What? Oh, now it's on. Now it's
What?
Now it's on. that Now old ass quarterback Drew Bledsoe.
Now it's definitely a thing. No, but all I saw like Megan had like 100 different
Scream
clips of her just
compilation.
screaming.
No.
But they had just won. Like, what is she supposed to do?
Not
Go to the
post it.
library?
Face. Oh.
Face.
Wow, now it's her face.
Oh, like just Schadenfreude. I just want her to.
I'm sorry, what was that word?
She's the girlfriend, not the wife.
How's it say?
Schadenfreude.
I was going to say, he went over 2. He said it 2 different ways. Neither one of them was correct.
Schadenfrocken.
All right. What?
All right.
That's another great moment from
All right, back here on Patriots Unfiltered, 855-PATS-500 is the Ace Ticket Hotline.
She's the wife now, right?
What's that?
She's the wife now,
She
right?
is, and the mom.
Definitely the mom.
Yeah.
Web radio at patriots.com is the email address. We just had lunch. It wasn't from Subway.
No.
So that's
was much better.
Tom Brady's new sponsor, right?
Yeah. Belichick did that too, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's hawking the Subway Eat Fresh.
They
big talk about
they
tuna?
spend some money on A-list people. Subway does.
Well, after the Jared incident, I think they kind of had to.
Yeah, they had to get wash
white-
that taste out of everyone's mouth.
Which really
I
works,
don't
too.
want to put it that way.
No, like that was
Yeah.
a campaign that resonated, and then, unfortunate.
Right.
$5 foot long. Those post Jared. Yeah, they've done pretty good.
Rodney
He looked
Harrison
better,
used
too.
to call Brian Lowe Jared from Subway.
Yeah.
I can see it.
But do we know the nature of Brady's commercial? Like, what's it going to be like? Have we had any teasers?
It's going to be like a high-end sandwich.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Like, it's not just going to be like an Italian or a meatball.
He's going to be in his Aston
Be
Martin.
like artesian cheeses and whatnot.
That would be-
what is it? Artisan cheese, not artesian.
No, is that true?
No,
Oh.
of course not.
No, because they might come out with a new line of sandwiches just for him.
Yeah.
A lot of veggies.
High end.
Yeah.
I was hearing something today.
Or the
Like the
nightshades.
bread is like got so much sugar in it that like in the UK they won't even call it bread. Like that's how bad.
Really?
It is. Like
What, Subway?
The Subway bread is loaded.
I have
with
not had a
sugar.
ton of
Sugar.
Subway, but I don't. The very small samples that I've had, I've not. I mean, if they're a sponsor, I apologize.
No, but listen.
I know it used to be the Subway Fresh Broadcast Studios.
Subway's pretty good. I mean, you go in there, you get what you want. I think the bread is good. I'm little.
I heard a comedian.
Disappointed to hear about all the sugar, but
I heard a comedian say when you walk into a Subway, it smells like a loaf of bread took a dump, and I could never get that out of my head.
Oh wow!
I have never seen a. I mean, we probably shouldn't be doing this, but I've never seen a place
running down here. Stop the show! Stop the show!
Like when you see commercials for places, and almost any place looks great. I've never seen a place where the commercial doesn't even make the food look appetizing like that in Arby's.
Oh yeah,
those two. I watch the commercials, and I never once say to myself, "I'd like to try that."
You know what's the worst? And I've tried it, so I speak out of first hit. Is Sonic. That is the worst food ever.
You're right.
Ever.
They get you with the ice cream. They get you with the tempt of like, hey, we got great desserts, and if you try to get the food there. Because we fell for that like just a month or two ago. We're like, you know what? We saw an ad for Sonic, and they were making like some ice cream mix-in thing. We're like, let's go. Well, let's grab it.
I agree with both of you. Both of you.
Ever. I don't know like how they even sustain. It's terrible.
Yeah, I've been there, and there's like a lot of those places like advertise that you've never been there, and you're not even aware that they're actually located around here. And somehow like I've seen 100 different ads. I mean, Sonic used to be one, but I'm trying to think of like what those other like restaurants are that advertise that you never even have heard of or been to around here. Like, you know, I don't know.
Yeah, there aren't enough Popeyes around here.
Popeyes.
I like Popeyes.
There's one really close to my house.
Yeah.
Chicken.
That would be dangerous for me.
You like Popeyes better than Chick-fil-A?
If I'm going to get just straight chicken, obviously Popeyes is the place. But Chick-fil-A is really good. I mean, their sandwiches are really good.
Yeah, I've only been there once, but the line is always just around the block. Whenever I try to go to the one in Brockton, that's the closest one I think to here, but only once.
Chick-fil-A, the waffle fries are really good. Yeah,
but you would get like a chicken sandwich at either place, wouldn't you?
No.
Oh no.
No. I get the bone chicken at Popeyes.
Full bird.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Full bird.
Yeah, I've had sandwiches from both, and I found Chick-fil-A to be better, but I'm not a huge chicken sandwich guy.
Yeah.
I'm more of a bacon double cheeseburger guy.
You've had the Popeyes chicken sandwich? It's pretty good.
It is good.
It's big.
It is good. I thought it was a little dry, and I thought Chick-fil-A had it better.
The other thing about, I think Chick-fil-A's standards are a little bit more consistent.
Yeah.
Popeyes, you go to one, it's a little different than another. Yeah.
A lot of variation between the Popeyes. I don't think I've ever been to Popeyes.
So anyway,
chicken
little
joint.
fast food talk.
Yeah. And who better to talk about that than me? Fat guy.
Yeah. I'm right there. All right, so where were we? Oh, we were talking about Brady's
Little Mac.
Subway.
Yeah.
And,
In terms of like Patriots kind of stuff, I mean, there hasn't obviously been a ton of news other than Gilmore. But did you guys happen to catch the thing that ESPN had yesterday, ESPN.com, about the rosters, ranking the rosters in the league? And the Patriots were 18th. And I don't think it got a tremendous amount of response either way. I mean, it's such a subjective thing to me.
Sure.
Like, ranking the rosters. Like, no. He's a better right guard than they should be high. Like, what are you ranking? How, what are you giving more for a quarterback, which I think you should.
Right.
Does that lift
your
your roster?
I was just going to say, if you take our roster, insert Brady, where do we go from 18 to what? Do you think
top 5?
Yeah. So it's that big a difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think the roster's good.
Yeah.
But the quarterback's a question.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't think the roster's great, so I can't just say, well, it doesn't matter even if the quarterback's a question. The roster's so good
right.
that it doesn't matter. Like, but I did look at the list this morning with somebody who knows a little bit of something.
Oh.
And I came up with 7 teams that I think you can make an argument the Patriots could have been ahead of. Could have been. I mean, not like, like Washington was one of the teams, Washington football team. Come on.
Yeah.
You really think that's a better roster than the Patriots?
I wouldn't know.
I think
Dallas?
They've got some good players on there.
Do they?
Yeah.
How come they don't win any games?
Well, that's Dallas. That is Dallas in a nutshell.
Yeah. I feel like this Patriots team too is just such an unbaked cake, like it's all kind of massive ingredients right now, and maybe more so than we've seen in a long time around here. And the quarterback,
Paul,
of course,
you can't judge a roster until the end of the season.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm only kidding.
No.
What other?
So I thought closer to 10 than 18. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
But I didn't think it was like a travesty.
Okay.
Oh, well.
Well, if it is closer to 10, and we get some decent play out of a quarterback this year, we're in the running. Right?
Yeah, but I think you could put all those teams in the teens and say if they get decent play out of the quarterback, they're
okay.
But
I'm just saying there's hope this
I think
season.
the reason that some of those teams are down there is because they have questions.
Yeah.
There is. I think it's got to go, kind of like we alluded to. I mean, I think it's got to be a running game that can run when you know they're going to run, and they can still run, and we've seen that in bits and pieces. And I think if that happens and they're able to get balance from those tight ends where they're able to dictate matchups and, make it a little easier on the quarterback too. I mean, I know there's so much talk of it all depends on how the quarterback does, but I think, if as an offense they can make it a little easier for quarterback, by being productive on early downs, getting the run game going, like not being so predictable. So it's hard to say right now. There's so many pieces of how is this all going to come together? Who's going to be the quarterback? What is this offense? Is it going to look like Cam Newton power runs again, or is it going to be, Mac Jones trying to hand it off and then not make a mistake and get the ball out quick?
Right. Let's get to some of these emails at webradio@patriots.com. Amir from Tel Aviv writes in, really enjoyed the last show. It was nice to dive a bit into the history, especially when nothing is really going on. I have another history question. At what point was it clear that Bill was going to trade Bledsoe? How was the general reaction to that move? I know the team just won a Super Bowl, but still trading a former number one pick who you just signed to a $100 million contract for a sixth-round pick game manager who has just one season under his belt is a pretty big risk.
It was no risk at all, and it was completely apparent once they won playoff games that it was inevitable. There's no way you were going back. And I'm speaking from the biggest Drew Bledsoe supporter you could find.
But I remember this was obviously 1997, and a lot of, the internet was kind of in its infancy when it came to .com, and we were given the okay on Patriots.com to break that news. It was huge.
It was in 2002.
2002, I mean. And it was huge that but it was huge,
know what he meant.
Huge that a team website actually broke that kind of news.
Yeah.
I don't think it's ever happened since.
And they never let us do it
right.
again.
But it was a big story that Patriots.com, the Patriots themselves broke, their own trade news, and in that respect nobody saw that coming.
Do you remember when Patriots.com went live?
Yeah,
95.
I was here.
I mean, right? I know you know. I'm just saying specifically.
Right,
was there like a and we're on the internet?
We were the first sports team to have a website.
Patriots.com.
Yeah,
right off the bat. It's remarkable. I remember like the internet has come so far over our lifetimes. Like I remember just being shocked that you could get live sports scores. Like that to me was mind blowing, and it wasn't even like there was no. CSS, like it just was straight text of what the live game score was, and I couldn't have been happier because, usually you'd wait till the newspaper to find out how teams did the next day, It'd be, oh my God, I could look in real time and see this. It's just, obviously, you must have known. Did you see that coming and be like, this is
by the time your 1200 baud modem fired up, you probably could have just gone and bought a newspaper and waited till the next day,
Right.
But it was still cool to have that, and I remember back then I was playing a lot of tennis, and you could go to like some of the tennis outlets and get their pricing online. That was like a huge thing.
Yeah, I was. When I was playing hockey at Holy Cross, I was moonlighting on USCHO.com, U.S. College Hockey Online, and so I'd be on like the message boards, like talking with people about our team, and nobody knew it was me, but like that was like my first kind of introduction to like
playing
internet
at Holy
writing.
Cross, you used to go on USC.
Oh,
that's awesome.
But this is like, 98. Fall 98, 99, and, people be talking about.
I used to be constantly on that message board. Constantly.
Oh, it was the best. It was the best. But that was the first kind of, between going to the library at Holy Cross to like read Bill Simmons. Sorry, Paul.
I like Bill.
But to go on USHO, those were that was the start of it all, of just, wow, this whole world of sports on the internet. And I should also give a shout-out. I know there's a lot of listeners who, listen to PatsFans.com or go on the Pats Fans message board, which, for me, that was, 2005, 2006, when I was getting into this stuff. I would go on that message board, and it was
Ian Logue.
Yep. Ian Logue, great job creating it. Derek Havens, Steve Balistrieri, all those guys that have come from there. But, it was just such a nurturing ground kind of sports debate, of talking Patriots and trying to You know, people having different opinions about the team, and I mean, just for me, discovering that was so
we had
fun.
our forum on Patriots.com for a while, and it needs regulation.
Yeah.
So I picked out a few super fans, and I said, "You guys are going to be our moderators," and it just turned into such an S show. I mean, the constant bickering and complaining. I just shut it down.
Yeah.
I never really understood, like, I'm a big message board guy. Like, I like message boards, but I don't really understand them for, like, major pro teams. Like, there's huge ones. Like, Pats fans is huge here for the Patriots. Yep. The Sons of Sam Horn for the Red Sox. Like, I don't really understand why you need that for those teams. Not like you have, like, college basketball or something, or college hockey, like USCHO. That's just such a like small niche audience. Like, if you can find, like I always say, and Fred always makes fun of me. We call when I go to the Northeastern basketball tournament every year, he calls it loser palooza, right? And he's right. There's literally 50 people in the world that care. I'll go on a message board with those guys because that's my only connection. Yeah. I can't, click on talk radio or watch ESPN and get the latest on Northeastern's recruiting class.
Well, the one
in
thing
hockey, that's where I have to get it.
You don't really need it, but I will say, like,
DieHardDogs.com,
when you get
by
to,
the way.
like the big teams like the Patriots and Red Sox, if you're on a message board, you really care. And those people want to talk to other people who really care.
Yeah.
But the only thing that says 900 million of those, like, that's my point.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to search those guys out.
Yeah.
But Fred's right. Because if you just watch and you don't need to go on a message, then you don't really care as much. It's like the soccer people. But you don't really
if you're not willing to get into a all-out brawl on what the throwback uniform should be, then you don't care.
Yeah. If you think that debating who the third guard should be that they keep, the 10th offensive lineman, then this isn't for you.
No, and that's what I loved about it. And I think at that point I was just so desperate for football knowledge and to understand the game. And there's certainly threads. I mean, I feel like it was a lot more civilized back in the day where there would be. I mean, certain things are different now, but back then you had some posters who really knew football well, and I think for me it was just a foundation of developing your own kind of point of view, and going into a conversation being like, I know what I think. In the early days you're just kind of talking to guys, but I mean, it's amazing that the number of people that have come out of there, and it was fun. I mean, I think the funniest was Spygate. I mean, that place was crazy. I mean, people were losing their minds, People were losing their minds, and I was right there with them, going through videos on the sidelines to try to find Jets guys on the sideline taping stuff. I mean, we were
people would Photoshop,
out of our
make
minds.
Stuff up. Yeah,
not some of my proudest.
There's nothing like the still shot, the deceptive still shot.
Right.
right.
See?
They did it too.
Being Fresno,
he was holding them.
I used to like putting those in PFW.
Yeah.
A clear hold, but
and he would go, you see, Fred.
Frame 162, but there's like the Zapruder phone.
But in our defense, we're the team newspaper. Like, we should be doing that. What is the excuse with this? Like the rest of the wall defending,
losing their mind,
like public.
Yeah, because you could just walk away at some point and be like, you know what, I don't want to do it anymore, and that's it. You don't have to.
Like, I'm sick and tired of people saying we cheat. Why do you care? Like, do you give any thought to this?
Speaking of Fresno, back in 01, I made a meal that made me think, wow, I'm going to be a great cook someday. Little snark there. Can you guys help me remember what I made? Pretty sure the Minnesota guy was talking about the second time they played the Rams. They won it all, and then somehow he knew they were going to win it all.
I almost threw that joke when he was talking. Like, was it the Rams in the second round?
But I will say, going back to that previous email, I don't think it was much of. Once Brady won the Super Bowl, there was a 0% chance that you could bring Bledsoe back.
Yeah.
Like literally zero.
Yeah.
The question was, can Belichick get something for like market value? And he did. He got a first-round pick.
But do you think that the only team that was willing to give him a first-round pick was within his division?
That's a good question.
And that's why he did it within his division?
It was probably the highest pick.
Yeah.
It was probably the highest pick. And, he knows Buffalo's not really good.
Because that was kind of a shocker that he did it to Buffalo.
It was a mild surprise that it was a division team. But I think he would have sent it anywhere that he could get the highest pick. Like, if he thought he could get a higher pick than what Buffalo would project, I think he would have sent him there. I don't
think
it was
he went to Buffalo because that was the highest one.
Right. I don't think it was because I want to show everybody I'm going to beat this guy.
No.
5 out of 6 times. I think he ended up winning. I think he won 5 out of 6. The Patriots. I don't think that was why.
No, I don't.
I think
so
he
too.
felt like Buffalo's probably not going to be very good. We'll get it. I think they got the 13th pick, or something like that. Ty Warren.
Ty Warren, yeah.
14, 13, maybe. I think they might have moved up a spot, but I don't think there was any literally, I think there was 0% chance of Bledsoe being back in 2002.
Yeah,
you couldn't have him back as the backup.
Yeah. I've said it before, but I think that's one of the themes that stuck out doing the 2001 thing I'm doing is just everybody talking about how poised and confident Tom Brady was when he came in. Like, I got a little preview of the David Patton episode that'll be coming on Pats from the Past too, and same thing, just they were excited to play with him. I think that's something that's maybe lost a little bit on that question of, are they going to just turn it over to a 6th-rounder? I think internally, and correct me if I'm wrong, the team really saw a lot that the fans weren't really aware of in Tom Brady when he got in. And they, I think, already felt better about him than people maybe knew. But I think just the moment he walked into that huddle, Damian Woody talking about it, just never blinked, knew exactly the kind of leader you had to be as a quarterback. And, I couldn't help but think, I hope Mac Jones does that. I heard during the Senior Bowl that, that he came in, he picked up this pro offense and, was in command and getting guys. And so I just hope that's a lesson that's passed on to him of, carrying himself like the quarterback. And it sounds like he's doing some of that and that guys are, kind of seeing that from him. But it's just something a young player can do that's nothing physical. It's nothing decision-making. It's just how you carry yourself, the confidence that you have, and then the guys immediately, they know this is a quarterback that, we can get behind and that we can win with.
Sean in Vancouver writes in, I agree with Dan from Minnesota about the 0-1 Rams game. Even though the Patriots lost, just by the way they played, I believe they would be a Super Bowl rematch with the Patriots winning. Too bad the Giants did the same thing to New England in 2007. That line dropped like the last line of a Law and Order episode.
But that is true.
Yeah.
Dick Wolf.
Boom, boom. Yeah, that's a good one, man.
Yeah, and it is a good observation.
It's a good analogy.
I'm sure the Giants said, we can beat these guys.
Right. But why weren't, but then at the same time, like, why weren't the Patriots like, they can beat us? I hope that they realize it.
Because they thought it was a fluke.
Yeah.
Just like the Rams did. It's real. There's a lot of similarities.
Yeah.
I mean, you saw the way the Rams, a dynasty is born. Like, they didn't think there was any chance they were going to lose.
And credit to the Giants, too, because, didn't they really have nothing to play for, and they went for it anyway?
Yep.
So, I mean, I think that says something about when we talk about teams coming down the stretch, resting starters and all that stuff. It's like you can pull something meaningful out of a game that might seem meaningless.
Yeah, I just think that if the Giants situation was a little different, because I think if they were just playing the Colts in the last game, they would have rested all their starters.
Yeah, right.
But I think they owed it to the league and to history to put their best foot forward and try to prevent the Patriots from going undefeated.
Yep.
Don't give them a walkover to complete an undefeated regular season. I think that was probably the number one thing.
Yep.
And you got the ancillary benefit of proving to yourself that you're as good as anybody in the league.
Yeah.
Because you played the Patriots as well as anybody.
The one thing, though, about that last regular season game is there was no sign that the Giants could stop the Patriots' offense.
Right. Once they got going. I mean, were they they were a little flat
at
at
first,
first, weren't
they?
they?
That was the thing that shocked us. Not that they could play toe-to-toe, but
stopping them like they did, absolutely.
That shocked us.
But if you remember, that game was not like business as usual for the Patriots. I know the Patriots ended up with 38 points, but if you go back and watch the game and see how it unfolded, it was not business as usual.
Okay.
There were a lot of
yeah, that's how I remember
there were a couple of third down sacks negated by defensive illegal contact penalties, defensive holds. There were a couple of things that either way could have made that game a lot different, and I think that's probably the way that Coughlin looked at it.
Yeah.
And I think that I never really thought of it that way, but I think the similarities between the two, because I think the Rams completely dismissed the fact that it was a close game.
Right.
They looked at it and said,
Warner a little flat on the road.
Warner
Who cares
threw for
about
400
these guys
yards.
outside?
It was this. They were jacked up for it. It was just another game for us. We stopped the game they took a knee on the 1 yard line, if you remember, the Rams in that game to end the game. They drove down inside the 5 and kneeled on the ball to run the clock out when the Patriots were out of timeouts. And I think that they overlooked, like, well, yeah, and Antoine Smith fumbled inside the 5 too going in. That the Patriots could have won the game.
How does he remember that? I just remember it was a physical game in the Patriots.
Because it's my job. Again, don't ask me what happened last year.
Canadian Mike in Florida, I think you are all, including some of the fans who are critical, partially correct in your assessment of Cam. However, since day one of his Patriots career, especially in social media, I've noticed a large portion of hate towards Cam is racially motivated.
Yeah, see, that's bull, and I knew that's where this is going.
Yeah.
And this is why he did what he did.
To
get whatever the amount of percentage is for that. That's what he's looking for.
I haven't seen that, but at least around here,
I have. I mean, I haven't.
We
really
have to
seen
wear
it,
either. And you're supposed to just shut your mouth and say, and just let everybody call you every miserable name in the book. So I'll just let it go.
Yeah, Anthony writes in Hertfordshire, pronounced Hertfordshire, England. Wanted to say how much I enjoyed the show Tuesday. It was very interesting to hear the two of you and Brian
Wally Pip
talking about the Patriots over the last 20 years. I have one quick question relating to our head coach and his time in New England. I want you all to imagine what 3 calls made during a game do you think Bill would like to call again, if given the chance. For the purpose of this game, you are not allowed to include the exclusion of Malcolm Butler in the Super Bowl as one of the 3. Thanks as always for everything you do in keeping us Patriots fans from outside the U.S. informed on all things relating to the Patriots.
3 do-overs? Is that what?
Yeah. 3 calls that he'd want to take back.
And we're talking about, like, play calls?
Yeah, I guess so.
More or less. I have a couple off the top of my head. I'm not really giving this a lot of thought, but I'll say one, the all-out blitz putting Ellis Hobbs on an island at the end of Super Bowl 42.
Yeah.
I guess that he would want one back. And passing up the field goal in that same game on 4th and 13. I think he would want that one back.
Onside kick against Philadelphia a few years ago. Am I remembering that correctly?
I would want that one back. I'm not sure he would.
Yeah.
I think he thinks it was the right thing to do still.
God.
And you notice I didn't put 4th and 2 on the list.
What about deciding
that's the play, right? I mean, that's the play.
What about the Steven Jackson game, the call or the decision to
how
they play that
Can
game?
we just encapsulate the last 5 weeks of that season into one, which starts with we'll call that a call. Like, it starts with Deuce's mortar kick for Nate Ebner.
Yep.
And then, taking opting to kick off in overtime against the Jets.
Yep.
And never getting the ball. The Steven Jackson game was part of that. Having what was the kid's name? The practice squad wide receiver Chris Harper. Having him back to return the punt. That was actually the first one. Harper's Muff. And those 4 losses made you have to go on the road in the AFC Championship game, where I'll tell you another one of my calls is the 2-point conversion.
Yeah.
I'll say, like, the last 8 minutes of that game in general, passing up field goals to go for all the 4th downs forced you to have to get the touchdown and the 2-point conversion at the end.
Mm-hmm.
And not going to Gronk on the 2-point conversion. Now, that might be a Brady call and not a Bill call.
Right.
It was there.
But
yeah, he got you there.
So there's a few laments.
What about, what about the call or the decision to treat that Jets greaseboard game like Armageddon?
Yeah, that one didn't work.
Like, oh my God, Rex Ryan put out a telecall to make noise, so we're going to overreact and have just change the way we run our game.
Yeah, you're right, Fred. Oh, it's funny you bring it up that way because that's exactly how I remember it. I'm like, why is this like? And I remember, some games just stick out to you randomly, and I remember that one being like, I'm gonna walk down, get a coffee. Wes Welker's out. Oh, it was just so much. And Rex had been talking all off season. There was so much hype. Hey, we got Brady back. We got Randy Moss. That game was just.
How about trying to cover Dallas Clark with Eric Alexander in the 06 AFC
That's another one
game.
Too. What the hell?
Did they have much choice in that game?
You didn't have to have your sort of practice squadish linebacker covering an All-Pro tight end.
I only could have imagined that. Well, he can run. We'll kind of spring him. Bruschi can't really run anymore. We need a little that was in my mind what I was trying to justify it with, but they couldn't do it.
Well, thank goodness those are all offset by thousands of calls that went the right way.
Yeah, well, I mean, some of them, it's like, I think most of them, you could probably see why at the time, maybe. I mean, there's definitely a handful of them that are still head-scratchers kind of all the way through, but I always at least try to see within the moment, do you kind of, are they being aggressive? You know, I don't want to
like
being
4th and 2.
Like, go for it.
I would do that again.
That's why I said I don't put the 4th. I wouldn't have, but I don't put the 4th and 2 on the list because I don't think he regrets 1 second of it.
Right.
No, and I think that was the play. You know, I think Kevin Falk gets that, 90% of the
He
time
had
for
it.
it.
He had it.
Just
Yeah.
double clutch,
Right.
you know? If he had maybe just caught it and fell, he would have.
Yep.
We're still lamenting these things
I know.
12 years ago.
Sil writes in from Seattle, I don't care for Mac Jones as a player or a person due to certain things that came out about him during the pre-draft process, and I have no loyalty to Cam really either, so I have no bias either way. But I can agree with Fred that some of the things that go on in regards to criticism of Cam on Boston Sports Radio is a bit extra, and I could see how someone not familiar with the Felger and Maz style could think certain lines are being crossed on that show and other programs on 98.5. I'm a retired combat veteran with multiple in-theater deployments, Operation Iraqi Freedom, and the negativity of Boston Sports Radio is even too much for me.
Oh, wow. Thank you for your service.
Well, I could just be happy that you're here now and not 25 years ago, because it's a cupcake candy land compared to what it was when it started.
Yeah.
Like before the Patriots won the Super Bowl in 2001, that's negative sports talk radio.
But that's
it's not negative anymore.
But that's what I think. I think it seems more negative now because of all the success. Like, why are you guys so negative up in Boston?
You know why?
All you guys do is win.
You're exactly right. It seems more negative.
Yeah.
Because everybody thinks that you should never criticize any move.
Yeah.
Because they win. Like, that doesn't mean that, like we just spent the last 10 minutes talking about do-overs for Bill Belichick.
Yeah.
Well, someone could say, my God, they were just very negative there. Why would someone write in asking for what Bill would do over him? The guy's only won 6 Super Bowls, been to 9, won all these, went to all these AFC championship games. What do you want? Right? You could say that whole last segment was negative.
But
we're just talking about different
point
things.
Of do-overs is like you have so many that are good.
But it's also the point of
it's
analysis.
It's no fun to talk about like which ones did he like the best.
Right.
No, but it's analysis. It's not like negative.
Yeah.
Like I'm not sitting here saying like Bill deserved to be fired for running Steven Jackson 111 times into the line in Miami and costing them a chance to host the AFC Championship game. No, but it was a mistake.
Yeah. Well, and that's what I always think, like, they're not down there just blowing sunshine and rainbows up everybody's. Like, that's part of the team is that there are things not going
Brady
right.
didn't want to be here anymore.
You got to keep, I mean, that might be extreme, in that regard. But, I think just generally, like, nobody wants to just hear everything's awesome. Like, the fun is, hey, where are their weaknesses? What aren't they doing? What do they need to improve on to get to, and those are the conversations I feel like that are happening there. And that's what I find interesting. Those are the things, not just, well, I'm sure it'll all work out because it's the Patriots and they're great. There's a whole process to get there. There's things that have to be overcome. And I think if you don't point those things out, what do you have?
And there's a time and a place for that on talk radio, too. It's called, we'll go back to where we started, Glenn Ordway. It's Big O. It'll work out. He is the best coach that's ever been in the league. Correct. Like, every single thing that they do for Glenn is right. Now, I love Glenn. Glenn gave me my start in radio, really. I mean, Ted Sarandis, technically.
Yes.
But Glenn's the one who asked me to go on the Big Show, which raised my profile exponentially. So I owe a lot to Glenn.
You should go on Twitter and say that.
I didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't. You know what I chose to do instead?
Tell him.
I texted him.
Right.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Personal
I know.
message.
Yeah.
That was crazy.
Direct
I just
message?
said, "Hey, great, congratulations, great,
Right.
thank you for everything."
You didn't post an Instagram with a long story about everything that he meant to your career?
Nope.
Oh.
I decided to pass on that. I know.
With just a picture of you standing at center field at Gillette Stadium about what Glenn meant to your career.
Yeah, I just, I decided to pass on that. I decided to actually let it be about Glenn Ordway and not Paul Perillo. You think that was was that a misstep?
Interesting choice, Paul.
Was that
in
a
this day
misstep?
and age, interesting choice.
David writes in, great show with Brian on Tuesday. Fascinating, he says. Interested in your discussion regarding Aaron Rodgers, his coaches in the Packers organization. There is always friction and conflict in organizations that achieve greatness. Compare the current Packers in Rodgers' dysfunction with, for example, the very direct, open, but respectful dialogue between Brady and Belichick on the sidelines prior to the Gostkowski field goal with 1:13 to go in the Super Bowl versus the Rams. It is clear that there was a very high level of trust and mutual respect.
That's apples and oranges.
Yeah.
I mean, I
Like,
just...
You can have a conversation about what you should do in a game. That's not what this is about for Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers isn't in this snit because they decided to kick a field goal down 8 in the last 3 minutes. This is not about a game play call.
Right. Of like two methodical, like head coach quarterback
Right.
being like, what is the best route to victory right now? Yeah.
And I mean, if you want to say there's a difference, is like credit Brady for getting past the Garoppolo drafting and continuing to play at a high level for whatever, 4 more years, 5 more years, whatever it was. Whereas Rodgers could only do it for 1 more year before he said, I had enough, I'm out of here. That to me that's the apples to apples comparison. That's why they were both mad. They both felt like they were being replaced. Brady did something about it and continued to win titles. Rodgers is choosing to play well 1 year and then taking his ball and go home. That's the difference between Brady and Rodgers, in my opinion. Yeah. One competes and one likes it when everything is great.
Yeah.
But what does he do when the game's on the line? What does he do when the chips are down? I maintain this for a long time about Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is not a great come-from-behind quarterback, and I don't think that's an accident. I think it's part of his mindset.
Yeah. I mean, I'll as thorny as the whole Belichick Brady thing and all the perceived or real subtle jabs that may or may not be, I'll take that every day of the week over how this Green Bay thing is unfolding.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm just saying,
Rodgers.
to compare what Rodgers' situation is right now with Gutekunst and Mark Murphy and all the brass there, and Brady saying, well, we'll just kick a field goal and the game's over.
No,
that's not the same thing.
Right.
No.
Do you know what I mean?
Right. Joe writes in, I recently saw a tweet that stated, I got to say, people are 100% agreeing with and loving my take that Rodgers would have won multiple Super Bowls with the Patriots and Brady would not have won one with the Packers in their respective time frames.
Would he though? I mean, how would Aaron Rodgers put up with Bill Belichick?
He wouldn't have won 6.
I'll
tell you that.
That's the thing.
That's a relationship that I couldn't
understand.
see
Just
working.
because Aaron Rodgers is on a different team doesn't mean he was going to be a different player.
He would not have won 6.
Have mixed
I do think he would have won multiple, but he wouldn't have won 6,
Yeah.
number one. And number two, how can you tell me that Brady wouldn't have won any with Green Bay when he just won one with Tampa Bay?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think these are some of the things we like to tell each other to make ourselves feel good.
The other day, Deuce, and you should have been here for this discussion, we were talking about movies, and one of the topics was name a sequel that was better than the original.
My favorite movie of all time, Aliens.
Aliens sequel was better than the original?
I think so. I mean, I think they're different movies, Aliens, but I might even argue Empire Strikes Back was better than The New Hope, maybe a little bit. I like it better.
That was
Godfather 2? Did that
Godfather
get some
2
mention?
and Empire Strikes Back were both given some consideration.
Yeah, Aliens is my first one just because that's an all-time fave. But
Aliens didn't come up, but that's a good one.
Yeah.
Jesse writes in The Return of the Pink Panther, and I was a big Pink Panther fan, and I think he or she is right about that.
I don't know if I've seen the original.
That's
Pink Panther.
Peter Sellers, right?
Yeah, the other ones, later ones, weren't that good, but The Return of the Pink Panther, the second one, I think they realized, wow, this first one was kind of a joke. We can make it even better, and it was a really good sequel.
I don't think I really saw them.
Yeah,
like I know of them, but I didn't see them.
He's hysterical.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
I mean, Dr. Strangelove, one of my favorites all time as well. I love that movie.
You ever see a weird movie with him called Being There?
Yeah.
That was weird.
Yeah.
Huh?
Oh yeah, he's like the innocent kind of guy, and then he walks on water at the end.
Yeah.
That was my film school
days.
days.
I told you. As soon as that show was over, I go, "This was a waste of time because Deuce wasn't there."
Yeah. When I got into film school, I was like, well, I guess I got to watch good movies. So I was plowed through all the Peter Sellers stuff and Hal Ashby, Being There, all that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Harold and Maude. That's another one that was kind of in that group there.
Yeah. Overrated.
Is that like Kumar White Castle?
May
no,
December.
Different movie?
No, I was like an old lady and a
I know
kid.
what happened.
A young
I
kid.
didn't see it, but I know what it is.
On to an actual Patriots-related question. During that same show, you talked about whether you would feel good about a 7-10 season as long as Mac played a significant portion of it. Would you rather have a 7-10 season with Mac or go to the playoffs with Cam? How many playoff wins with Cam would be better than a 7-10 season with Mac as your starting quarterback? I'd rather go to the playoffs
with Cam.
Just for the fun season.
To me, it's not about going 7-10 with Mac. Does Mac play well? Is Mac the reason why you win the 7 games, or part of the reason why you win the 7 games? Then I'll take that. I'll take 7-10 rather than a first-round playoff exit. Now, if you're going to win the Super Bowl, that's different. I'm not going to be stupid.
Yeah,
but
AFC Championship.
Okay, even if you get to the AFC Championship, I'll take that too.
Yeah.
But I'm assuming that you're going to get knocked out in the first or second round, and that's what we're comparing.
Yeah.
I don't need a couple of extra wins.
The excitement of going into the playoffs again. I'll take that.
Yeah.
Give him a red shirt year, and I'll take that.
And then you're back.
Meanwhile,
next year,
if we could lose round 1 with Mac, all right.
All right, lose round 1 with Mac or go to the AFC Championship with Cam.
Ooh.
I'll still take the AFC Championship because then we were playing to get.
That's the best game of the year.
You're crazy.
Yeah, absolutely.
It'd be pretty cool though if Mac was that good. But
yes, and you're set for 10, 15 years. We got our guy. I mean, that's what we're looking for.
Freddie in Wales writes in, just wondered if you agree with me that the AFC East in 2021 will likely have the most parity for a long time when we're all 4 teams more evenly matched.
I need to see something from Miami or the Patriots or the Jets to say that this division is evenly matched.
Yeah.
Now maybe Buffalo will just suck this year, but they were so far and away better than everybody else in the division last year. I need to see something change before I make comments like that.
Right.
I mean, I might say it's maybe the division with the most unknowns. I mean, I think Miami has put a lot of pieces in place, and similarly, I think they have a lot of young talent. Is that all going to blossom? The Patriots have kind of gone the veteran route a little bit more.
Right.
The Jets, Zach Wilson, I don't know. Maybe.
But don't all 3 of those teams have the same question?
They're all, yeah.
What are they getting from their quarterback?
Yeah. But I think that they're different in some ways of I don't know. I think the Dolphins with the youth that they have, that's my question, because I think if those guys all kind of blossom and Tua is the guy, I think they've got more around him than the Jets necessarily do, or the Patriots.
There's no question that Miami's further along in the process than the Jets. They won 10 games.
Yeah,
the Jets won 2 or whatever, 3.
I just think, I guess maybe the variance of what Miami could, I just think they could go either way. I really like Flores. I'm anticipating they could be one of those, surprise teams, but it depends on Tua.
I think Miami and the Patriots are in similar boats. I think 8 to 10 wins.
Yeah,
I could see.
Yeah, and if they all click, maybe it's better. And
if both of them get, Fred keeps saying average quarterback play, but let's say that they both get above average quarterback play. Then I think you raise it to 10.
Yeah,
to 10 to 12 maybe. For wins. If you get really good quarterback play out of Tua and out of Mac Jones,
then
you could be something. But let's not just forget that Buffalo ran away with the division last year.
Right.
They were 3 games better than the second place team. Is that just going to automatically go away?
Right. They were head and shoulders.
They were
better.
6 games better than the Patriots. You think the Patriots improved by 6 games?
Yes.
Elijah Moore's lighting it up too down. He's been standing out down in the Jets too. So, deal with that guy.
I just respectfully, I need to see Buffalo prove that last year was an aberration before I say that Miami or the Jets or the Patriots are even with them.
Yeah, I think it's Buffalo and everybody else right now, but that
means
so quick.
And that means nothing. All
one injury, one couple game stretch.
Josh Allen, the way he plays, I think he exposes his body to some hits. He was banged up, for good portions of last year, but he played through it. What if he's banged up this year and he can't play through it?
Yeah, Diggs gets banged up and
absolutely.
Beasley
There's
gets
a lot of things. A lot of things can happen. But right now, on paper, they're better.
Also, on the subject of Cam's terrible nicknames a few shows ago, the best nickname I have ever heard for a guy called Wayne Bruce was Man Bat. Okay, that's
Man Bat.
Man Bat.
That is a thing, as Matt Morrell nods his head vehemently.
Let's see. Derek writes in, why did you guys officially declare Belichick the greatest head coach? And what coaching attribute does he have over the other coaches?
I don't know. I work for the Patriots.
I just always hated the genius thing. I feel like people hold him to this standard of being, he's a genius. Everything should go
his
great.
own father said to him, "Genius. All you do is walk up and down the sideline." But I think people think he's the best ever just because of, there's a lot of game plan stuff that he does, and I think that word gets out from other players about him. And I always go back to
his attention to detail.
Yeah, I go back to 96 when he first came here as a defensive assistant, and we were after practice and Lawyer Malloy was doing a presser after media availability, and he said, "This guy's a genius. He makes it so easy. He makes it so you can understand it." And to me, that's the sign of someone who really knows his stuff. If he can make everyone understand it, then he knows it. If it's like, I don't even know what you're talking about, then I'm not, but if you can make complicated things really simple, then you know your stuff.
Yeah, and just I think the bar that he sets with how I think he expects out of his players what he does, and the amount of preparation and the amount of knowledge, and I think the pop quizzes as they walk through the hallways are well worn of players talking about it. You pass with Bill on Tuesday or Wednesday, and he's going to ask you about, who's their nickel corner, how much do they pay this packet, that kind of stuff. So I think he sets the tone, and I just have always had a great admiration for coaches and, being able to get 50 guys all pulling in the right direction, all knowing what their role is. And as you said, I think that was cool in the football life where, against the Jets, he said, and that's what I read too, he'll give you the 3-4 things you got to do to win every game, and I think they intercut it against that Jets game where they didn't do all those things, and so but again, I think that you get labeled with this genius thing, and it's like, well, he can't make any mistakes, right? And that's just too high of a bar. Like it's such a fluid and hard thing.
I forget which linebacker it was. I don't know if it was Van Noy, but it was somebody within the last 10 years said the best day here, other than game day, is Wednesday. That's when we get the game plan. Because you never know what it's going to be.
Yeah.
But when you get that game plan, it was always an exciting day because it was always something different.
Oh, I love that.
Well, the game plan thing, I do think is a big part of it. He's had, sort of unprecedented success. I mean, his one-loss record, by the time he's done, he's going to have probably more wins than anybody else. That's why people consider him the greatest. Now, some people might look at that and say, well, yeah, you had Brady for all that.
People do say that.
And maybe time will go by and make that more true. I don't know. But that's why people think of him as, if not the greatest, he's in a small handful.
Yeah.
I mean,
and how many defensive coordinators get carried off the field after a Super Bowl?
Well,
he did.
Mm-hmm. Buddy Ryan did.
He did.
Yeah. I love when
46.
Everything is the only thing that could ever be has to be something Patriots related, and then
wasn't Buddy Ryan Patriots related?
Like yes, like the year that Brady was suspended, and Garoppolo won a game as a starter, and Jacoby Brissett won a game. How many teams have ever had 3 quarterbacks win a game in this? I don't know. Why don't you look it up? Oh, happens all the time. Oh, okay. It's amazing to me how everything has to be the best, the first, the only.
But they did carry him off.
You know what the onlys are with the Patriots?
Yeah.
6.
Yes. And 11 trips altogether. 10 division titles in a row. Like, these are the things that you're only in about.
Yeah.
Like, winning. Don't worry about these little SID stats, as I like to call them. The unprecedented winning at such a high level for such a long time. No one will ever duplicate it.
Right.
And that's why
it's staring you right in the face.
That's why I think Belichick is the best. Not because they carried him off the field in a game where the offense had the ball.
It's another example.
Not because the Giants controlled the ball for 42 minutes in the Super Bowl and beat Buffalo because the other team missed a field goal.
Plus the fact that he kept things together for 20 years. With all that success.
Yes.
Right. And that's where I think the kind of next chapter for this season that we're going to be observing is, how does Bruce Arians do keeping that team together?
He'll be lucky if he can make it 3 years, let alone 20.
Yeah.
I agree with Paul.
What's the fall off like? And then, what's Mac Jones' development like? Because I think everybody is wants to bring up like, all right, well, Brady's going to just continue winning and Bill's going to be just an average team from here on out. But, what if Mac Jones turns out to be surprisingly better than anyone is anticipating?
And I'm not saying that Bill is the only guy that can do it. Like, I would say Andy Reid has done it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think if you look at what Andy Reid has done in Kansas City, they're always good. And now he got Mahomes, so now he's great. Right? He was really good with Alex Smith, too. But now he's got the guy, and he's going to the conference championship and Super Bowl every year.
Yep.
And that's going to continue as long as Mahomes is there healthy. Mm-hmm. But, not everybody. Bruce Arians, to me, is not Andy Reid and Bill Belichick. Like, I don't think Bruce Arians is going to do that.
No. Interesting.
Even with Brady.
Yeah.
Even with Brady. And everybody will say, well, Brady, at some point, he was 45, 46. Like, at some point it had to end. It wouldn't have if Belichick was there.
I just want to. I feel like they're already teeing it up at some point that Bruce Arians, you're gonna get training camp day 2, and they'll be in the and he'll be like, I don't care what happened last year. You'll just get that moment of the soundbite of him trying to minimize what and that they have more to prove and that everybody's hungry.
It's more likely he brings out a keg. And they just
all right, just do what you do. I'll be over here if you need me.
Right.
Tom, everything good? Good. All right.
Claire says, great to have you back, Deuce. Paul, I love you. I hate Green Bay, Rodgers, and the Steelers. Oh, the Finns and the Bills, too.
Thank you, Claire.
The Finns I had some deep hatred for growing up. Oh, that I hate Bob Greasy.
Yeah, I think I kind of always hate Miami.
Then when Marino got there, whew.
I enjoy it when they're more hateable, though. I enjoyed the Jets when Ryan was there. Rex Ryan. It just made it so much more fun.
That was more fun.
To have
when you had a villain.
Yeah, you want that. That's why I was always grateful to him for that, and to get when you brought up Week 2, 2009. I remember Week 2, 2010, the same thing.
For our purposes, I loved Rex Ryan, but that was the guy you could hate.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And God bless him for being that guy and embracing it, and going right into it, full bore.
Eldred's in North Carolina. What's up, Eldred?
What up, fellas? How y'all doing?
Good. How you doing?
You starting trouble on Twitter, Eldred?
Yeah, I know.
Wait, there's people are convinced that's not even you.
No, one of them impersonate me because I don't get on Twitter that much. That's that darn impersonator, whatever you want to call him, because he's the one that copied my darn profile a while back. And I'm like, that's not me.
Oh, okay.
Not that one.
You got imitators, man.
When me and Melvin was together, that time we met in Memphis.
This is great.
My picture.
What happened?
Our listeners are so big that they have.
They're getting impersonated.
They're getting fake accounts. Parody.
I went to see.
How did you know that I was trying to come up with the word and I had to come up with fake?
I think I went to see what was going on, and the tweet was unavailable or something like that. The person who made the original tweet has their account locked or something like that. What was this about? Do we know?
I don't know.
I think Eldred would rather see us keep the cast as is.
Okay. Oh, I see. Right. Whoever's Okay.
Yep, something like that. But Paul, I disagree with that other guy when they said you think Cam was racist. I don't think that, because if you didn't see how he played last year, then he needs some more glasses or some bifocals. One of the two.
Yeah.
Right, and I just think if anybody that's in Boston and listens to Boston sports radio thinks that the vitriol over his play was worse than it would have been over a white guy's play, then they don't know Boston sports.
Yeah. Did they hear about how they talked about Brian Hoyer after that one game?
I mean, Brian Hoyer is still
he got buried.
It's funny that you say that. Like, I was watching, and this is a bad one, Deuce.
Yeah.
They've had buzzer beater games on NFL Network, and one of them was the couple years ago the game in Miami.
I watched it on the plane.
The lateral play.
Yep. I watched both of those the other day.
So I was watching the end of the first half, and we blocked a punt, set us up right. In the last 30 seconds, Brady took a sack inside the 10-yard line inside of 10 seconds with no timeouts.
Yep.
Clock ran out.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, true. But,
Hoyer gets killed for that.
Yeah.
Even now, he gets killed for that. It's not a race thing, and I'm not saying there's no racial, elements involved. Of course there are.
Right.
But the thing, it's a track record thing. Hoyer sucked the whole game and then did this.
Right.
Brady's won 8,000 games for the team and multiple Super Bowls, and then he did the same thing.
If he did that a couple times in his first year, they may
without winning.
Right.
If he didn't win,
they'd be like, bring back Bledsoe.
It's so funny you brought that up. I watched that exact moment.
I forgot about
and was
that
thinking
one.
the same exact thing. I was like, well, that's when his decline started, I guess.
Because he did that, I think, in Seattle. Remember the Russell Wilson game, the first Russell? It's actually the Tavon Wilson game.
Yeah, right.
Oh, was that the You Mad Bro game?
Yes.
Yeah.
I believe at the end of the first half, Brady did the same thing. He took a sack and the clock ran out. We didn't get a field goal.
Yeah.
But I forgot about that Miami one.
Me too. They showed the other one too. Was it the 17 game? Yeah, they showed the 17, and then after the 18 game, they showed the 17 Dolphins game. I watched that one too.
Which game was that?
Hey,
they got ran all over by Drake in both those games.
Yep. But Paul, Tuesday, I love that dude that was on there with y'all.
Brian?
But I agree with him. I agree with him on a couple things. When he said that Bill do draft people or get people that fit his system. But I would like you, because you was on that same draft. If you got a couple not really superstar, but star players in a certain position, like wide receiver when you didn't have one, tight end when you didn't have one, decent corner before you got Gilmore. You won a lot more AFC Championship, probably winning more Super Bowls than just 11, instead of Brady and the Brady Bunch.
Yeah,
that's one thing I wanted to say.
Yeah, now Brian and I had a conversation about like the structure, the construction of the roster and whatnot.
Middle class.
Yeah, middle class. I like that one.
Like, I just hate the way it's always portrayed. It's presented as a zero-sum game. Like, if you have, a good structure of your roster and you have a good middle class and you have good special teams, you're not allowed to have good targets. Like, you can't have high-end talent at receiver or whatever. And I'm like, I don't understand why they're mutually exclusive. You can work the contracts whatever way you want. Like, you can be good on special teams because you're well prepared. You don't need to have a guy who makes $2 million as your special teams leader. Like, you can be well prepared and have that guy make $800,000.
Yeah.
If you want, and take that extra $1.5 million and give it to a receiver who's a little bit better than, Chris Hogan.
Than what you have.
I just think if that's going to be your philosophy, you got to hit on draft picks. You gotta hit on the draft. You need the top end talent from the draft. If you're not, if you're not going to go out and get it. I mean, and I think it's select areas they made moves, but I just go back to not getting the next Gronk and Edelman. If you gotten the next Gronk and Edelman in 16, 17, 18, somewhere in there, if you just gotten a couple more pieces, one outside receiver, Harry worked out and was A.J. Brown or one of those, it might have gone a little bit different, and it might have made sense that, hey, we can continue to contend into 2021, 22 with Brady. We've got the pieces with these guys are on rookie deals, and that's always what I go back to.
Yeah, me too. Or better still, when you see a top end talent leave another team like Hopkins. So try for Diggs, but I guess they didn't try good enough. And then when Fuller, not Fuller, but I've got the other wide receiver.
Julio Jones.
You had somebody he could throw to. He had somebody Brady could throw to with Edelman. Then who knows? Maybe brought another tight end like you did this year. But you probably didn't have the money the last couple of years to do that, like what you did this year.
You always have.
But I still
not
say,
what they did this year.
Right. You got the greatest quarterback. You should have just keep it going. Until I would roll Brady till Brady rolled out with a wheelchair. Then after that, that's it.
Yeah, and I think
because you can win with him. You can win with him. And you make everybody else better.
Yeah,
I look at.
I just think it feeds into the cornerback position too. I think that's one spot. I think that they have signaled that they're willing to go a little bit in that direction of paying top end talent or ever since they got Talib and then Revis and Browner and then they went and got Gilmore, which was a little bit of a surprise. That's the position they seem to care about, and that's again when we go back to Gilmore to tie it all together from the top of the show, it's that's why it's a little bit like. So now, are we on corners or are we off corners? Because I think J.C. Jackson could walk next year unless you want to franchise him. So, it's strange how it evolves and where they show you what they value, because they don't do that for receivers, but they do it for cornerbacks.
But Bill's. I know that he grew up in special teams, but he's he's a defensive guy. He believes good defenses can win games and. In this league, man, if you can have that one guy who can shut down the other team's best player, everything else just kind of falls in place. That gives you such an advantage when you're game planning.
Yeah, and I think I got kind of lulled. I don't want to say lulled. I think you get a little bit confused with the early dynasty defense where you had Ty Law in those first, and you kind of held on with Gay and stuff. But, when it was Ellis Hobbs and, that was kind of my period of really awakening of Asante and Hobbs. And Asante was great. I don't think he was ever, on the level of these man corner guys where it's, going and they were different defense then. So it's just interesting how it's evolved, because if you had asked me back then, I would say, I don't really care who the cornerbacks are. I think if you've got Vrabel, McGinnis, guys who can get after the quarterback, it's not really going to matter. But it just seems like the game has gotten to a point now where there's no front seven that's going to be good enough.
But that's the key, is the way the game has gone now. If you can't at least cover a little, you're in trouble, because the passing games are too good.
Yeah, I think Bill believes that, maybe he's biased because he's had Brady, but he believes that a good offense will pick apart a defense that can't cover, like Paul said, even a little.
Yeah, and
they'll just pick them apart.
You don't have to have all pros everywhere.
No,
but like just like in 01 to 04, that first part of the dynasty, the front seven was great, and that the lifeblood was the linebackers, the whole 4 for 6 spots, right? McGinnis, Johnson, Bruschi, Vrabel, Pfeiffer, Colvin. You had four guys on the field for 6 spots. That was the lifeblood of your defense. And you had Seymour and Wilfork and Warren up front, dominating. So when you throw in combinations, I know these guys weren't all there at the same time, but Law, Otis Smith, Malloy, Rodney Harrison. I mean, like,
right.
Are you kidding me? Like, 5th and 6th defensive backs like Terrell Buckley. I mean, they were so much more talented defensively then than they are now. And as you saw it evolve, I think what I think Bill has been slow to, frankly, is changing the importance of what you said at the end, Mike. The front seven, no matter how good you are, that's a tough way to just say, well, we're just going to get to the quarterback every time.
Yeah. But you got Mahomes and guys who drag it out.
If you can't cover,
you can't do it.
If you can't cover, and that's like Asante, he was great. He was at that level. And then they chased Asante for 5 years before they traded for Aqib Talib.
Yeah, right.
And then they get Revis. And
it's hard to get those guys.
And then, even though people don't want to say it, they went from Revis basically. The next was Malcolm Butler, who was really good for a couple of years here.
I think the great example of it, too, is just look at who their biggest kind of rivals were. Like if you could get to Peyton Manning and get him off the spot, he's not gonna hurt you. But Mahomes, you could be getting pass rush pressure all day, and he still might be getting out of the pocket, winging it downfield, and beating you if you don't have guys who can, kind of stick. So it's a balancing act through, kind of all the evolution of the game. It's just interesting.
That defense was so good that Ty Law could go off his man that he was covering and make the interception.
Yeah, because he knew everybody would trust.
He just knew where he was going, and Manning was just so befuddled. You know, normally if a guy starts to sneak like that, Manning's going to burn you. But
wasn't that so fun though? There was nothing more fun to me than 03 and 04 when it was just so much hype, and and to see Peyton Manning come in here and just absolutely look lost and to throw multiple interceptions. There just was never a better period of being a Patriots fan than that kind of those 2 playoff runs.
And were the Patriots physical with the receiver? Yeah, they were. They were disrupting their route and by doing that disrupting the timing. And Manning loves his timing.
Yeah,
he loves his timing.
And it feeds right into it, but it's not as simple when it's guys that can get out, guys that can
But I also
move.
think that the funny thing about that is the timing only seemed to get disrupted here.
Yeah.
Not in they never shut him down in Indy.
No.
They won games in Indy, but 38-34.
Yeah.
Right.
Like here, they won 20-3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right.
Sure.
Wow. Well, snowing out. And
weather has something to do with it.
Right.
Sure.
I mean, it was like 27-24. In the first
Another
game of the year
reason why
here.
there's no debate, even at the time, that Brady was better. He did it in all the elements.
Right. And that's
that was always my
got to be something that you can.
That was always my deciding factor. It didn't matter what the weather was for Brady.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, that's going to be it for this edition of Patriots Unfiltered. Everybody have a good 4th of July weekend. It's the holiday being celebrated Friday or Monday?
I think Monday. Technically.
Okay. Do we have Monday off here? Oh,
yes.
That's good. Nice.
Oh.
Okay.
I'm not going to be here anyway. So.
All right. We will
see
you next Tuesday.
Thank you for downloading this podcast. Subscribe on Apple, Google Play, and everywhere else you listen. Like the show? Please rate and review us. Listener comments and ratings help keep us high in the podcast rankings so new listeners can find us. Be sure to check patriots.com for more news and more podcasts.